All right, everybody, welcome to the I Disagree podcast. You know, I can honestly say the reason why we've named it I Disagree is because it's two words I believe that have not only changed my life, but we all wouldn't be sitting here if we didn't say I disagree. So here's basically what we stand for. In the past 3 years, there has been more disagreements, controversies, opinions, ideas, failed expectations, character reveals, surprises, disappointments, lies, beliefs, assumptions, and bullshit than ever before. Here we go. You guys ready for the first one? And we are live for the first time. We've been doing the I Disagree podcast for how long now?
This is episode 7.
Episode
right?
7.
I think.
Is it really?
Yep. I think it is. Yeah, 7.
7.
It's 7.
Oh my goodness!
For
And
sure.
now we are live. So I'm actually now watching. Everybody's jumping on for us right now. Oh my goodness! People are jumping on like crazy, and that's kind of awesome. So, hey, welcome everybody to our wonderful I Disagree podcast. Looking forward to discuss some wonderful topics to you guys tonight. And for you guys that are watching, please do me a favor, put your comments in there below. Let us know where you're from. I'm gonna be watching and kind of filling these guys in what you guys are saying and stuff like that. And we also have Aaron and Sarah sitting there. You know, you should jump on and actually see what the comments people are making. It's kind of nice. But that being said, we love this being interactive. We want you guys to either agree or disagree with us as we go through that way. But as the intro said before, it's two words that have definitely impacted my life the most. And you know, first 6 episodes have been just doing wonderful. We've gotten so much great feedback and so much great positive stuff, and it gives us guys to make some statements and make some. Have some pretty good discussions. And I think, Steve, the first time you were here went for 3 hours.
It did. Yeah.
It will.
And then you had to drive home a couple hours.
And I made it. Yep.
Yes, you did. So what we're going to do is this, but before we get started, I want to see these amazing people that are here. And Dave, we're going to start with you. We're going to go all the way around. I want you to introduce yourself, age, you know, what you do for a living, married, single, divorced, and something unique about yourself.
First, I got to try to remember what my wife told me to say so I don't get in too much trouble. But, no, I'm Dave. I'm actually going to be 40 here in 2 weeks from today. I'm married, obviously. Just mentioned my wife. We're celebrating 5 years on Friday, so
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yes.
October's a busy month for us. I'm a personal trainer. I own my own company called Everyday Fitness 101. We do in-person and virtual training, so wherever you are, we can get to you. I just started up a YouTube channel myself called the Fit For You Podcast. It's just fitness for anybody who's looking to get a little information to get that journey started. And I released an autobiography a couple years ago. Aaron
Really?
Walton over there actually was my editor.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
It was just
fancy.
crying.
Our
Okay.
journalist, your journalist.
So it's actually about my life. I ended up in jail for a little bit, and my walk home from jail parallels with my walk through life too, how
Nice.
I got to jail. So
Nice.
it's called The Road Home Triumph Over Turmoil. So
Nice. Well, welcome, Dave.
Wow.
welcome.
Next, Christelle. Yes, we're going to go right around the room.
My name is
up to the mic.
My
Up
name
to the
is
mic. There you go.
Crystal. I am divorced and a single mom of one little 8-year-old boy who gives me a run for everything that I have. I don't know where he gets that from. I am our franchise manager here at the corporate office and have been here for 7 years now and worked for Doc before I went to college. So
Yep.
Doc and I go back a ways.
Yep. I was going to say, for a lot of people who don't know this, a lot of people know that Dr. Jason has been with me for like 20 years. Crystal's officially my longest ever employee. She started with me when she was really young, and now she's old. Okay. No, it's like, no, but Crystal has been with me for a long time. It's great. And she was actually worked at another one of my other companies. And of course, since she came here, I would never ever leave. So, yes, thanks for being here, Crystal.
Thanks for having me.
Travis.
Hey everybody, Travis. I am 42. I work here. I wear many hats, and I love every one of them, except the one that involves me plunging toilets. But I digress. And something unique about myself: I was a youth pastor for, I believe, a little over 3 years to a church that's local here. I love lifting weights. Got a smoking hot wife, and I don't have a lot to complain about.
Nice. You need to start introing yourself.
Hi.
I was going to bring that up actually.
Okay, we'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay, I will. It's actually on the agenda already. That I was going to tell you to do that.
Got it.
My name's Dana Dilling. I'm 34. I'm married, and I have 2 boys that are 6 and 8. I actually went to school to be a CPA, and I did taxes for 10 years, and then decided that wasn't for me. And now I'm a clinical nutritionist because of my passion for health. I now also obviously co-host this podcast, and I have a social media account called Dana Disagrees, where I pretty much support the patriarchy, and you can find that on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
And you just had a video kind of go viral.
Yeah, I did.
What was it about?
It was about blowjob week. And we're at 194 views.
Did you see everybody turn their head real quick? It's like everybody's like, what was that about?
Is that one of the topics tonight?
It probably will end up somewhere on the topic tonight.
Yeah.
It probably will. That we could discuss.
It's a good
So
one.
yes, it was a fantastic video and stuff. So
Go watch
yes. All right, Ashley.
I am Ashley. I am 35 or 36. I honestly don't remember. I'm married to a husband. It's been 10, 12, 15 years. I don't know. We've been together for 15, 16 years. We have an amazing son who's 10. I am a stay-at-home mom. I am a graduate student to NWTC here. And I'm also a business owner as well.
What business?
I own a CBD business with my husband.
Very nice. Very nice. Steve, returning guest.
Hello, Steve Frazier. I'm 66. I'm married for 32 years. I have 4 kids, 8 grandchildren. I am a conservative Christian entrepreneur, and I have 3 hobbies and a passion. My first hobby is I make gluten-free, grain-free pasta from garbanzo beans, which my wife created. I make orgonites, which are beautiful, but they also are very effective EMF mitigators. And I also do self-sabotage presentations, independence from self-sabotage. And I have a passion, and that is to fund and create and build a private Christian K-12 school in north central Wisconsin.
Very nice.
Cool.
Thanks for coming back. He made it back.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome back anytime.
Yes. Now, a lot of people always ask, is that we give a little bit of an intro on our nice little video. Thanks you for the video team that does that. But one day, like I said, a lot of people know, especially after our last show, because of Tara. You know, she had an event and she was here on our last podcast. I was here, and all of a sudden, you know, Dana stood up and said something to one of the presenters that way, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then we had already been friends before that, but I'm like, you know something, Dana, you know, I think we should start a podcast and bring on some co-hosts and do some things and have some discussions. And the reason why in the past 3 years, and that's why I want to talk about my intro here. In the past 3 years, there has been more disagreements, controversies, opinions, ideas, failed expectations, character reveals, surprises, disappointments, lies, beliefs, assumptions, and crap than ever before.
It's my one word. That was my one word contribution to that.
I know, but
We're
no
past
joke.
30 seconds.
I know,
You can
because
do
YouTube
whatever
is
you want.
flagging everybody for swearing and stuff like that, and I think it's from the F word, not from
Not from shit.
Yeah, exactly. So
That one's welcome.
that's right. So welcome in our so even the F word, we're welcome here. But and the purpose of it is correlate with a different perspective on topics I believe that everybody needs to discuss: health, men and women, politics, and religion. I think those 4 things are extremely important things that I think we all need to talk about. I think that, you know, one thing that I really think that people have really done a disservice to their families and their communities is when people get together, there's always saying, don't talk religion and politics with people you care about. I'm like, that's, to me, one of the dumbest things you ever do. 2 extremely important things in people's lives. You know, politics is all about the community, and religion is all about, you know, faith and belief and what we stand for and how we even govern our actions. I think that it'd be very important to know what people's, you know, things are that way. So I love and obviously health is something that's really important to us, but all these things intertwine. Like I said, we're going to have a topic about men and women tonight that's going to take a very different twist than, and just so you guys know at home, we do not tell anybody who the questions are. You know, we sit down as hosts and actually come up with them. And then I usually make a statement of what I believe. Now, remember, I'm going to make our statement, and then we're going to go around the room. And here's the rule, though. So we got some things that we want to talk about. There are some rules that when I first make the statement, we want Dave. We're going to start with you, and then go Crystal. We're going to go all the way around, and all you get to say is I agree or disagree. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come back around, and we're going to have you explain why. I believe that a lot of people believe things because just maybe of family or friends or their church and things like that. And I always tell people, say, listen. Is if you truly have a belief, no matter what it is, you should be able to articulate it quite well to everybody. If you can't, you're just doing it because somebody else wants you to believe something that way. Mm-hmm. And and when you start to articulate it, you may find out that you don't really believe what you believe. It happened a couple times on a show where you're like, oh my goodness, I don't sound like I know I'm talking about. I had a couple people say that after a show. I'm like, no, just you're about to learn some things that about yourself, and maybe you believe something that you were just told by your mom or your dad and stuff. But here's what happens, and then we're gonna give it time for people to then explain, articulate why they agree or disagree. But then here's what happens. Remember, we have some disagreements on here and things like that. Just remember, in generals, we have to remember there's exceptions and there's rules. A lot of people always want to talk about exceptions. You know what I'm saying? They want to argue exceptions. The example I love using because it's very controversial, but not to me. But the idea is this: is like my stance is I'm actually against abortion. See, I don't say I'm pro-life. I say I'm against abortion because I just believe that abortion is more like a murder. Okay, and somebody can agree or disagree. And I'm okay with that. You can say I agree or disagree. But what people do is they immediately go to the exceptions, not the rule. Well, what about the person that gets raped? Okay, what percent is that? What's a fraction percent? 90+% is used as birth control. So they want to talk about the exceptions, not the rule. So if I ever catch you talk about the exceptions, I'm gonna say, all right, no exceptions. Got to talk about the rules because people want to argue exceptions because then they can nitpick on one little point and don't realize it's like focus on one instead of 99 out of 100. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So we got some pretty good statements tonight, and then I actually forgot what they were. Then Dana reminded me and stuff. I was like, what
It's like
are
a
we?
weekly
What are
thing.
questions?
Pretty much.
And I'm like, oh, I got them written down. And she goes, but do this one first because we think it's going to really cause a lot of discussion. Now I want to make it very clear because I've been kicked off of YouTube. I've been kicked off Facebook. I've been kicked off of TikTok for a little bit because they let me on pretty quickly back that way. I think that some of the topics we're going to talk about tonight, for some people may make people downright upset and angry and stuff like that, and that's okay and stuff. But I want the audience to know that, remember, we're sharing our opinions. If you have a different opinion, do me a favor. In the comments, write your opinions on this. And when I make this statement, now I'll make this statement. So these are things I believe. Now, I truly believe this. I believe that people's beliefs can change in certain things. I believe that they can evolve on certain topics. I don't think the same way as I was when I was 18. You know what I'm saying? Is like, but the idea is this: is when you're especially you're watching at the audience today, you know, put agree or disagree. But if you do disagree, especially make sure that you can articulate why. So here is our first topic for a while, and I think it's going to cause some discussion to really stem on there. And remember, we're going to start Dave. We're going to go around all the way to I disagree or I agree all the way around. And then we're going to come back to Dave. And if you agree, you have to explain why, and if you disagree, you have to explain why. So here it is. You guys ready? All right, let's get going. Here we go. The concept of transgender should not be accepted as normal in society. Now, let me read that again, okay? The concept of transgender should not be accepted as normal in society. All right.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Agree.
Yep, I agree.
She's thinking.
She's
she can
thinking.
think.
Thought you
She's
fell asleep there
thinking.
for a minute.
She's thinking.
She can
She's
think.
thinking.
The concept of
Gender. I'll read for you again.
Thank you.
The concept of transgender should not be accepted as normal in society.
I disagree.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Now remember, for
job.
you guys that are at home, please put
By the way.
down if you agree or disagree. And I tell people, it's okay to disagree with people. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's okay to talk about these things. And we're going to go through, and the neat part is this, but if you do agree or disagree, because now the nice part about this podcast is if you agree or even disagree, I want to know why. So Dave, let's give a rundown what you think.
So when I think of transgender, I think, you know, there's two genders, XX, XY. In a very rare condition, I want to say, I think it's 1.7 people or percent of people in the world are actually XXY. If I think I'm stating that correctly. So it's a very, very small
I
percentage.
think 1.7 is a little high on there. I think it's 0.17.
It's probably like,
It's just a number I
Yep.
think I saw at one point
Yep.
in time. So that's kind of the little bit of an exception right there,
Yep.
not the overall rule. As you said, we
Yep.
go by the rules, not the exceptions. And you know, I think that people who are considered or consider themselves transgender, I think it's a little more of a mental issue, not exactly a physical issue, and that's something that can be addressed if needed. So that's why I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, right along the same lines as Dave, I do, biologically, we are engineered differently as men and women, and we talk about it all the time here at The Wellness Way, and how our chemicals in our body and how all of it affects, and the testosterone and the estrogen, it makes you who you are. And so I really don't believe that you can disassociate from that. I think people can be very sick. I think people can have some mental trauma. And I think that is what creates this transgender acceptance, is there's certain things in our culture that have made men less of men and women more of men. And so that's gotten confused. But biologically and physiologically, we are different. So that's why I agree with that statement.
So I'm going to have you guys restate something because I want to come back to this. But then the reason why I made the statement about shouldn't be accepted as normal in society. So with your answers, how do you think that affects society? Because behind closed doors, I'll just give you my opinion. Behind closed doors, I don't care what people do. I really don't give two shits what people do behind closed doors. You saying if Dave wanted to dress in a dress, I'm cool with it. You saying, and so
Thanks for calling me out on that
that's
one.
right. No, but if you think of it this way, it's like so because I want you guys to relate your answers to society because you gave, in which I 100% agree with you on some of the stuff you're talking about. But why would that should not be brought to society though? See, that's what I'm thinking about this way because because I'm a very big individual rights person. You know, saying even our Constitution is based on that. And the idea is this: in politics is a cultural. A lot of people get politics wrong because they think it's about politicians. But politics, do you actually understand where the word came from? Based on community. See what I'm saying? So that's why we look at society, community, what value bring that way. So we look at going, okay, so what would be the problem then? Even though I agree with you biologically, which you guys both talked about, but why shouldn't that be accepted in society? Because that's a big debate. They're just asking to be accepted in society. It's a thinker, isn't it?
It's not real. You can chop my wanker off all you want. I'm still a dude. You don't believe me? Check my fluids in my spine and go put them under a microscope. I'm still a dude. It doesn't create any value to that person. In fact, that person has to suffer the rest of their life hormonally, trying to go against the grain. What they really should do is find out the root cause as to why they're sick to begin with, or they're emotionally sick, mentally sick, whatever you want to call it. It's deeper than the snip or the so-so or whatever you want to call it, or I'm not sure what they do. I'm not a doctor, but my point is there's something that's morally wrong with it, and it's causing that person that thinks they're starting fresh a whole new slew of problems. And we're going to look back, I think, at a couple of decades ago, what were we thinking? And unfortunately, I think it's government driven. It's an agenda driven thing, and that might sound conspiracy. I don't give a shit. It's all over. It's getting worse. And people are the ones that are suffering.
Did I ever tell you I've defined what a conspiracy theorist is? My definition is, it's a person that really is a person that can connect the dots quite well and can see it before you can. You saying? You remember the old booklets that used to have connected dots? See, that's what people that do when they're analytical and look at things, they go, and that they can see, kind of predict what's going to happen or see, and it's conspiracy theory. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that are considered true today and stuff. So
I've heard the term conspiracy realist.
yes, well, looking at reality. So Dana, what you got?
Well, I agreed, and kind of in line with some of what's been said. So I don't think that it should be considered normal because I think it's mental illness. I think it's a mental disorder that we have going on, and I think it's really cruel in our culture, actually, how we are just like high-fiving these people as they are drowning instead of actually just trying to help them and save them because something is actually wrong. And I think that LGBTQ, like all that gets lumped in together, and I don't even really know if that's how we should be looking at that community or that group of people, because if you really break it down and think about it, I mean, what's gay? That's who you're attracted to. But what's trans? That's who you believe you are or who you think that you are. And they're not the same thing, and they shouldn't even really be lumped together, I don't think. And then on top of that, I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about tonight, but also kind of want to point out that I also feel like at this point, gay people are being used as a shield just to protect groomers, which is another thing that should never be considered normal in society. And you already touched on the whole, the government, driven thing. And if we really kind of step back and look at all of this, of what's really going on and what kind of agenda is out there, I mean, it's a globalist depopulation agenda. That's what's out there. And the goal is to make it so that people can't reproduce. And how do you do that? You do it by making more gay people, and you do it by making more sexually castrated people, because 2 dicks don't make a baby. 2 vaginas don't make a baby. A cut-off dick can't make a baby. A sewed vagina can't make a baby. And it's been something that's started out maybe culturally trying to get people accepted, and now it's an ideology.
Ashley, what you got? You said I disagree.
Well, I'm going to say I definitely really like how you phrase something.
Yeah.
And that was in the sense of the fact that you said we're gearing it more towards gay and transgender as being the same thing.
Right.
And they really should be two separate ones because
Yes.
transgender is really how you feel versus gay being who you're attracted to.
Right.
I had the opportunity to actually be housed at one point in time for 5 days straight, which might be a little bit hypocritical of me, with someone who was transgender or in the process of it. I did not like it. That being said, you do you. That's my phrase for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
You do you. Whatever makes you happy. I don't think you have a mental disorder. I don't think you're physically wrong. If you want to shove your dick in another person, whether it be one hole or the other, go for it.
Right.
That's my phrase. You
Right.
do you.
But we got sassy
think-
girls on here today.
I'm very open.
I'm feeling pretty comfortable down here.
That's right. It's like,
You're good. Don't worry.
Well, I think a lot of people don't care what people are doing behind closed doors. It's the rainbow being shoved in your face that people
so,
don't like.
but I want you guys to know, and I want Steve to answer this. I'm going to come back to this though. So, Steve, I want to get your fix on this, but I also want to talk about this because I want to really get this point across. Is see, we're talking about, doesn't matter what, alphabet that they call themselves that way, is why shouldn't it be accepted in society though? You know what I'm saying? Because that's the point I really want to get across, because what does it do to society if it is accepted? So Steve, what you got?
It confuses society.
Yep.
And that has been the agenda for quite a few years now. Really came out with George Floyd, BLM. I was fortunate enough, look at it one way, that I got to look at the BLM's website when it still had on there, one of their goals was destruction of the nuclear family. Okay, now their goal, and along with a lot of these other groups, is to completely destroy the nuclear family. Okay, well, what is the concept of transgenderism do to society? It destroys the nuclear family. Okay, so with that being said, there's no place for this, okay, because you've made all the points, physical points, a lot of the moral points, okay. There's a point, though, that I'd like to bring up on a society level, and that is female DNA being put into vaccines and given to boys, little boys, babies, and male DNA given to girls, and nobody ever talks about this. And what happens if that guy, I'm watching a guy change, he's transitioning at a Target where I live. What if he can't help it? What if it's in his genes? What if they did this to him with vaccines? Okay. Now, that's not being addressed, as far as I know. If anybody knows, feel free to pipe up. Because we don't want to know, right? Because guess what? Nobody can touch pharma, right?
Not yet.
Not yet, right. So, but the point, you understand where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
All these things that are happening, nobody will even question them or even bring them up because we can't. Because they're not allowed to until we got to here. Until we got to the I Disagree podcast.
Yeah.
I think quickly, there's, who said mental health issues? I think it maybe
Yeah.
addressed twice.
You and Crystal.
Okay, so is it easier when you have a problem up in here to run or to change and grow?
Yeah.
I
that's a
think
good point.
transgender is a form of running from your problems. If I just change who I am and change my identity, I won't have to address what I did in my past or what I didn't do, however you want to look at it. It's just another form of running. I look at it like a drug addict or somebody who can't get off of porn or whatever their issue is. There's lots of issues out there. But
Well,
I
and
look back to Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, and I listen to the verbiage used there, and you look at nowadays, and it's very similar. And we all know what happened to that sad story. A lot of destruction. So that's my concern from a society standpoint as well.
Now, before we go on, a lot of people are on. It's kind of nice. And I want to thank Gene and Jason and Frank Cat and where's a bunch of other names here and stuff. But yeah, there's some pretty good comments coming back on this stuff already. And Aaron Walton's commented on there. One thing that was said on our chats here is this. we need to radiate love and acceptance for all in our community. Thank you, Frank Cat, for saying that's actually a true name on there, Frank Cat, and some of that. But let's go back to this. So I want to take Frank's statement here, and thank you, Frank, and thank you for all you guys and Gene, everybody that's commented on that. Really do appreciate it that way. But let's dialogue with them a little bit, because it still comes back to my thing. Now, I'm going to make a statement, and I want you guys to run it, and we're coming in. I want to show you guys, if you guys talk to us and interact with us, I'm going to bring as much up as I can that you guys are talking. I want to get you guys' idea on this. So let's just look at what Frank Cat said about this. We need to radiate love and acceptance for all in our community. Now, once again, this relates to it that way, and I want to come back to this. But here's what happens. So let's. I'm gonna disagree with Frank on this, because here's why. Do you know what acceptance to me is? When you say you accept or tolerate something, you have no standards. You have no boundaries and stuff going, okay, listen, I don't, because let's say, because I think they confuse love also with a feeling and not with, because you guys, everybody here has children, okay? And I guarantee that you're going to do some form of discipline with them. They don't feel like it's loved. Right. That's one of the greatest things we can do for them, okay? And here's what happens. If we accept and love everybody, then what happens? Why don't we let all behavior be fine just because we have love and acceptance, because that's the way they act? And I want to come back to this. What do you think, if this continues to be accepted in society, what will it do to our society? What will it do to our schools? What will it do to our jobs? What will it do to everything?
I have the answer.
Let's go for
Total collapse.
Okay.
It's going to be total, and that's what's happening.
But let's do this. So let's go a little more detail, because a lot of times people say, "Well, how does it collapse?"
Right.
So
okay.
let's go and we'll start with you, Stephen. We'll go around to Ashley and come back.
I reversed.
Yep. No, good.
So you've got teachers, not all teachers, probably maybe only a handful of teachers, but they're encouraging children that they can be boys if they're girls, or girls that can be boys. Okay, it's happening. Okay, regularly. Okay, there's a guy in Green Bay, Dr. Dupesta. He talks about this all the time. Does a great presentation. Okay, we are accepting all these minority groups are getting the voice in our society. Okay, the majority of the people in the United States realize that most of this stuff is crap. Okay, it's not right, but they don't say anything because they're scared. They're afraid to be canceled. Very few people are not afraid to be canceled. Okay, we're looking at one guy right there. Yep. Okay. You're the exception.
I'm the
We're
exception.
going to talk about you tonight, okay?
Yeah.
But but the problem is that no one's standing up. Okay, we're allowing our government to be taken over by transgender people. Okay, 10 years ago, this would have been they'd been called insane, and they'd have been told to leave. All of a sudden, it's acceptable.
So then, and like I said, I remember we're on the same page, but I want to play a little devil's advocate here. So what do they not then contribute to society to make it worse? See, here, watch this. Now, I'll make another statement. Let's see if we can go on this. And then we'll actually want to get your point on this too. Society is built on one thing. All society, every business, every school, everything, it's based on the value you bring. Here, if you don't bring any value to society, what does it do to it? It crumbles and destroys. Mm-hmm. It does. You have to bring value. If you not bring value, there's nothing that can advance. There's nothing that can get better. There's not that. So that's why I'm going, okay, listen. So I'm looking at, and that's why I want to bring up the topic. And like I said, I have my own opinion, so that's how I want to see everybody else's before I even talk about that way. But I said the concept of transgender should not be accepted in normal society, because I personally believe, and I can articulate very well why I believe it'll be very destructive. But see, that's why I want to go. So a lot of people, what they do is they argue it as a personal choice. I have no problem with that. And I have no problem behind personal choice behind closed doors, what you do. But what does happen is this. But when it enters society, is it productive, or does it bring value to society? Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, that means it devalues society. Do you understand? And that's what I'm trying to get out of you guys, going, okay, listen, see. And that's why when people say, well, when you say it shouldn't be accepted society, you're just not letting me be myself. I'm like, that's not true. Because society is governed by the value you can bring it. Because here, watch this. If all you do is sit home and watch TV all day long, and you want to live off the government, do you bring anything to society? No. Actually, you're very simple. You're a parasite. You bring no value. And if everybody was like you, it would collapse. You understand? And so that's why when people are like so against the transgender movement, I'm going, okay, why? And stuff. Because once again, it's like anything in life has to bring some value. For example, if you look at a male or a female, they have to bring value. They really do, and stuff. And so I'll give you a little this. Okay, so as Steve, and we're going to use you for example, and Dave, and you're a business owner and things like that. When you said you went to prison, right?
No, I went to jail.
Jail. Okay.
A little different.
Okay. When you went to
It'd be
jail,
cooler if you went to prison.
Yeah.
It would be cooler if you went to prison.
You must like the Bad
For
Boys or
this
something.
I went to prison.
The Bad Boys. Daniel's like the Bad Boy. Just came on there.
Okay.
But here. What's this? When you went to jail, how much value did you bring to society?
0.
And if everybody's in jail, what would happen in society?
It would crumble.
See, in your story that you're excited to share about is what are you doing to society when you do the things you're doing now?
I'm helping people live their best life. And
So you're
I'm
bringing
helping-
value to something,
yeah.
so it gets better.
Yeah.
See, so I have no problem if somebody can articulate to me how the transgender community brings society to be better. Then you would have value, because anything that doesn't bring value shouldn't be allowed in society. And I don't mean this negatively. If you look at this in general, if you have somebody that just sucks off the system, they're not valuable. They're not valuable. They're not. And I know what my Christian friends will say. Well, you don't determine what value God does. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, love and acceptance in the people that are not valuable. I'm sorry. I don't think God created you to sit on the couch and eat bonbons and stuff like that, unless your husband does well enough that you can do that. You know what I'm saying? But no, but get my point though. And so think this way. I just look and go, okay, listen, just somebody tell me the value that they bring. So if you disagree with my statement, then tell me what value it brings to society. Because here's what happens, this. Everyone here, no matter if you agree, or anybody watching right now, if you disagree with my statement, what happens is this. I'll ask this. Does everybody want a better job, better schools, better government, better everything? So then you have to bring value into society. So I'm cool if you can teach me how transgender thinking, being accepted as normal, will bring value to society. I really am. And still this day, no one has done it. But the idea is this, and that's what I want to say. And so if you disagree with it, so now watch this though. But if you disagree with it, show me how it doesn't bring value. Does that make sense? And see, that's why I think the statement, once again, has to be talked about, because if we just talk about personal choice, well, I want to do this. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with anything you choose to do. But to be accepted in society, it has to bring value to society. So Dave, what you got there?
Well, that was a lot right there to unpack. But going back to your original statement, the one thing that scares me, you brought up the fact that I have kids. I have 4 kids. I have a 16-year-old, 14-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 11-month-old. And the fact that it just seems like they're trying to get at the kids a little bit younger. Well, I remember when I was 8 years old, I thought I was going to be a Packer player. Well, that really, there's no use for a 6 foot, 230-pound offensive lineman in the NFL today. There's absolutely no, I outgrew that. And with kids today, they want to be anything. My 3-year-old wants to be Llama Llama Red Pajama for Christmas. It doesn't mean that she wants to be that, or she wants to be something else. And I just get worried that a kid might say, a girl might say, I feel a little bit more like a boy. Okay, is that just a phase you're going into, or is that real? And I feel like there needs to be a fine line of adulthood. It needs to be that very definitive line, at least, because if you can join the military, you're legally considered an adult. Okay, you can kind of make that decision. Obviously, I think the brain fully develops at 25. I think is about the average age where the brain fully develops, where you can make those real decisions. But it just scares me that it seems like it's getting into our high schools and maybe even a little bit more into our middle schools. And, that's why I don't think it's normal. And that's why I think, having these discussions and trying to figure out why it's being made more normal is real important. So.
Yeah. Love the answer. Chris,
And then
what you got?
Travis, I think Travis said, there's no long-term study on the effects of if somebody starts to transition and then they change their mind or they start to transition, what is it going to do for them 10, 15, 20 years from now? There's no real long-term studies on that.
Well, they don't want to do it either.
No. And someone might say, I can't live like myself. Maybe I'm suicidal. But what if you have that regret 3, 4 years from now? Are you going to stop that person from being suicidal because they regret what they did? So.
And you're hearing more and more of that as we've had, this trend. I remember the LGBTQ. It wasn't Q back then, but they added on the Q. In college was really when I first was introduced to it. And, now through some of the documentaries and things like that, and people, we're seeing those people that have transitioned and how they now are, they're not in a good place mentally, physically. They want to transition back. We've, Doc, you work with these people all the time.
Still.
And, the long-term effects that cannot be reversed because they made a decision when they were going through transitional times in their lives before their brain was fully developed, their hormones, whatever it be, and now there's only marginal progress that they can make back to a healthy state.
I remember listening to a podcast. It was Jordan Peterson. He brought on, it was a female that transitioned to male, and now I think it was 8 years later, she had regret, and she said, at that time I felt like a boy, but now I don't. And it's a fascinating podcast. I think it's about a 2-hour podcast, but it's worth a listen. And he really goes into a lot of those details you just talked about right there too. So,
Yeah.
Travis, what's got?
So I'm going to try to skip around a little bit. You talked about what value does it bring. And I'm convinced that there's two parts of value that I find. And I realize it's the government that benefits from this. Population control, and then being reliant on the government. Because we know that the government and pharma are all in bed together, having a good time, rolling in the dough while we all sit here and struggle. That's a whole other conversation, though. But I want to skip over to schools. And I watched recently a gentleman, I don't know if it's his kid or who, but he was probably 6-7 years old, we'll say early grade school, and he had $10,000 in cash in green standing there, and he had 2 Oreos. He goes, this is $10,000. Do you know, like, I think he even said how many Oreos you can get with this? And then he goes, I just want the Oreos. He gave them like 3 or 4 chances. They don't have the mental capability of doing or making a decision, nor should they, because obviously I disagree with them having value. But I'm a believer in, you're not even really an adult until you're about 30 years old. I'm old school in this regard because I believe that even in the Jewish culture, you're not an adult until you're 30. Of age. When you hit your bar mitzvah, then you have your advisors or your minions, they call it, and they grow. And then when they hit 30, they start their adult tour. That's when Jesus started walking and doing his thing, right? Because he wasn't ready yet. How the hell can we allow these kids to make decisions, at that age that they want to be a boy or a girl? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and culturally, because I want to go back to what you talked about this, because I know what some people do say, look, I can be irresponsible until I'm 30. No, if you look at the Jewish community, what they did is they move you into adult behavior when you're 13, but they're massively guided by elders. And their life is set up by the elder, and that's why generations are very important to pass down their wisdom and things like that. And Steve, I got to know you over the last couple months that way. It's like it's a reflection of your kids, and I know one of them. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and now in society, she has been a success and stuff like that. And so that's one thing I think that what I'm trying to get out of everybody is because if you ever notice, people want to argue the exceptions. They want to argue the aspect of their personal choice. It's going to sound funny. Personal choice isn't the problem. It's actually the effect on society. For example, and I think of it this way, and I can tell you this, and Crystal made a comment to this, I personally have to deal with people that have transitioned and then said, this was a bad decision. And believe it or not, they are now physically disabled. They mentally are disabled, so they can't contribute to society. They have a hard time even going to work. They have a hard time even having normal conversations. They have a hard time even existing. And so therefore, watch this, and I mean this sincerely, okay? If a person can't contribute to society, if they do not have family members that can take care of them, who now becomes the caregiver to it?
We do. The tax collector.
Yeah. See, that's my point of going, now what else is there? Once again, there's physical and mental things happen. Here's another thing. They can't have kids. Yep. Like Dana said. And I'm more of an Elon Musk kind of guy where I think that we should be fruitful and multiply like crazy. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's why I decided to have, do you know what's really funny? I had a person one time, this is after we had our 4th child and stuff like that someone told me I was selfish having 4 kids and stuff like that.
They sound like they don't have enough problems in their life to deal with.
Yeah. So I can't have kids.
They have to make up problems.
Here's one thing that is significant is I believe that it also creates government dependence. Now, and also, here's one thing that a lot of people don't think about. It also gives, whenever you can create division in people, especially on something that's emotional, you actually give government more power. Let me explain. Let me explain on this. And this is something I'm trying to get through to people a lot. I want you to think about this. Okay, and I'll just be very clear. I'm very wealthy. And I came from being broke. I busted my butt, no joke, 70 hours a week, if not more. You know what I'm saying? That's when people tell me they work 40 hours. I'm like, that's a good part-time job. Do you see him? And I went from nothing to extremely wealthy, to where I can fly on private jets all over the world. Great, you see, and I'm bringing that up because I started from nothing. So if I was given to it, people would be like, oh my goodness, well, you're just a trust fund baby. No, I came from nothing, and I built it that way. Now watch this. But there are people out there, and a lot of people. So I was training my team today. It's really funny. If you're starting from scratch a business or get out of college, do you ever notice that people are very encouraging to people that start from the bottom? For example, Dave, you in jail, start from the bottom, and you're gonna make your way back. Everybody's being encouraging. Do you understand there's gonna be a point that even those people that are encouraging won't be encouraging anymore? Do you know why? You'll surpass a level of success that surpasses by them, and they'll feel inadequate because you went way beyond, even though you had rough circumstances to start. Do you follow me? Yeah. Now, so watch this. So someone comes along and says, Steve, or Dave, Steve, you guys got some money. I believe that we should have the same kind of outcome. So therefore, you need to pay your fair share, and we need to take from you. But what's funny is this? If I just believed that you had more than I did, and I came in and took it from you, I'd go to prison. But if I can get people that are called politicians to take it from you, it's now called taxation, not theft. See, so therefore, when you would look at the things that happen on government dependence, they want people to say, well, we found a minority group. Now, if we can create division on them, and then what we can do now is we can use their power from discrimination, and we can now legislate it. And it's really funny, the United States is the only people that haven't legislated it yet because they can't, but they're trying. So that's my point, is what does it have to do for society? It makes it, once again, physical and mental problems that they can't contribute. Kids, government dependence, government strength. You give the government more power when you actually do things like this. All right, what you got?
You kind of brought up tolerance before, and something that I've been thinking about lately is what are we willing to tolerate in this country? Just in terms of behavior and stuff in general. I mean, trans species is a thing now, where people, dress up as dogs and that's their fetish. And
I'm a furry, by the way.
Cut your balls off then. Just get your pet spayed and neutered. But there are people who think that, and that's it turns into a sexual fetish, and that's really what it is. But then it's out in the open is the thing, and like we kind of said, nobody really cares about what you're doing behind closed doors. If you want to put dog masks on, have sex with each other, you can go ahead and do that. But don't be doing it out on the streets and protesting about it. So what are we willing to tolerate? Because we're also right, because they're only doing a little bit at a time, getting us to tolerate just a little bit more at a time, because you can't do too much or people notice. But if you just slowly do that, you just demoralize the whole entire country. And it also lets everybody think that, well, for one, that they can be whatever they want, which just isn't obviously true. And then for two, it also kind of helps contribute toward this one world government idea in making it seem that all people are just the same, and that nobody's really different, that everybody can just be all equal, and that's also not true. And so you demoralize countries by doing things like that.
That's funny.
That's my point.
Thing.
What?
Yeah, the slowly conditioning.
That's what they're doing, because if they did that, we would all go kill all of them, which is what we need to do anyway. But
I had enough when I saw a video about 4 or 5 years ago saying twerking for world peace, and there's this gay guy with some little Daisy Dukes on twerking in the middle of the street. I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. I was already throwing up at my TV before that.
Yeah. Last time I was in New York City, things that they allowed down in Times Square, they would have arrested about even 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was girls going topless and things like that. It's and I think that's why you see this movement go towards kids, because one thing that even if you think about from the abortion standpoint, everything, we're supposed to protect the innocent. Do you say? If you think about it this way, that's what we have actually even government or even police for. They're supposed to protect the innocent from the criminals. But if you can make criminality normal, think of it this way: in California's done it. Do you understand? It's really interesting that if you don't steal over $900, they don't consider it a crime. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you understand the Target recently pulled off, don't quote me exactly, I think it was actually Portland or somewhere in Oregon that way, because theft was so big. That's why when you normalize bad behavior, it actually ruins society.
Mm-hmm.
And brings no value to it.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's what I said. I know it sounds funny. I'm very big on this because, all right, time to make some females upset. It's really funny is this. I want you to think about this. Let's get in. Thank you for all the comments. Frank Cat, thanks for the comments. Gene, thanks for the comments. Thank you for all you guys commenting like crazy on here. It's fantastic. Here's what happens. Who has more responsibility to bring value to society, men or women? Dave, let's start with you.
Men.
Crystal?
I would say men.
Men.
Yep, men.
Men.
Man.
Now, that a lot of women are going to be upset about that, but actually, if that was true, every woman would be really happy. Because here's what happens this. Men have to earn their value. Women are born with it. They're born with it. Do you know why? It's really funny. Do me a favor. Being, wealthy and stuff like that. You ever see, let's say a 50-year-old guy, because I'm 49, 50-year-old guy, and let's say he owns a yacht, or let's say he has a private jet, okay? And then, this never happens in society, but then you see a hot 25, 30-year-old bombshell. See, you guys are all laughing. You know where I'm going with this. You know what's happened? She brought so
Movies
much
every day
value
about it.
of money to society, and that's why she's on that plane, on that yacht. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's like, that's not true. She brought that ass on that thing. Do you understand? See, because you could be watch this, okay? How old are you now? Dave?
39.
39. Okay. Now, I want you to picture this. How old were you when you went to jail?
30.
Okay. Now, put it this way. Good-looking guy, nice guy, things like that. But if you're 30 years old and broke and have nothing to do with value, guess what happens? Are you then attractive to women? See? And he's even saying it. No. Now watch this. Be a 40-year-old broke woman, but be hot. What happens?
You'll find a guy.
You'll find a guy. Do you understand?
Must be that 1% then.
That one, that's not true.
No, I'm just saying, like, I must be that 1% because I met my husband literally 6 months after he got out of prison, and he was just started working in a joint or like a manufacturing place, and
Yeah, but he
I
was bringing
knew.
value.
I mean, he was making $12 an hour, if that.
But you had to see some value in him. You're saying you had to see some potential in him, possibly.
At that time, I mean, he was good looking. He was.
Thank you.
amazing.
You saw some
Very
value.
good.
Okay,
You saw something.
I mean, but at the same time, I saw that he just.
Now, what if he
he
would
was a
have?
felon
What
in
if
my
it-
eyes.
Yeah, but what if he would have stayed a $12 an employee and not owned a business with you and stuff like that? Do you think that you could have found him less attractive?
No,
Why not?
because I was madly in love with him the moment I met him.
Okay. The exception, not the rule.
Yep.
Exactly. That's why I said I must be that 1%.
Yes, you're gonna have some.
Yeah.
You're gonna have exceptions
Yeah.
to the rule that way. But the idea is this, but here's what happens: this. But over time, because you look at women in general, if the man's not contributing to society to make it better that way, women are naturally more attracted to men that bring value. They by nature are. You understand? And and that's why I kind of sit there and go. That's why I kind of talk about the concept of transgender. Come back to this all race to it should not be accepted as normal society because it doesn't bring value to society. Now, what people will do is they'll think that's hate speech. They'll think that something's wrong with that. I'm like, no, listen. What you're confusing is this: is I don't care what you do behind closed doors. I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own home. I don't care what you do with this. But if it doesn't bring value to society, guess what? It's something that's going to be. And there's a lot of things that the government brings that brings no value to society. So it's not just transgender. There's a lot of things that people bring to society that have absolutely no value and stuff. I know it sounds funny. People are going to hate me when I say this. Do you understand? Welfare brings no value to society.
Correct.
Yeah.
Brings no value, zero. You say because if a person's truly disabled, guess what happens? I believe disability can bring some value to society because there's been a situation. But as far as welfare brings no value to society, zero is actually a drain on society and stuff. So, and that's where I think that people get so thrown off is the fact that it's like people think, well, people can't be who they want. They can't. Well, if they really do believe that they're a girl or a guy, that's fine. I've sat across from so many of men that thought they were women and women thought they were men that what happens is I didn't argue with them at all. I actually treat them with great respect. I really did, because I said it wasn't my place to tell them how they should be. But then once we are trying to be accepted, it's no different than this. When people try to force something down your throat, people by nature are going to buck. But do you know how you actually don't get people to rebel against bad ideas? You demasculate the men.
Yep.
They pushed COVID really hard, and most males, I can't call them men, most males buckled. You see him? And then the women followed.
But you have a name for that, right?
Soy latte pussified beta males. Yes.
Boy, that rolls right off.
It does
I'm sure
roll
it
after
still
tongue.
does.
And it hasn't
It
changed
still
at all.
does.
No, it was
I know.
so great to hear that
So
again. At least
articulate.
five more times.
I think we're going to
tonight.
make shirts out of it.
Yeah, at least 5 more times.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, when we look at these things, what I care about, here's what happens this, and I want everybody's opinion on this. The idea that why we have to have a discussion about this is because every one of us in this room has kids.
Yep.
Every one of us, Steve, you have grandkids. What we leave behind sometimes is actually more important than sometimes what we're doing right now, living in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think as I gotten older, this is where maybe I've evolved a little bit more, is obviously when I was building my career and my wealth and my family and things like that, what happens is this, you're more tolerant and accepted of immediate things. I feel like a woman. Okay, cool. That's fine. It should be accepted. Okay, cool, fine. Just leave them alone. But you ever notice it's never that they want to eventually force ideas on you that way. And therefore, what does it do? It's going to hurt society long term. It really is. So, yes, Dave, thoughts?
What was the statement again?
Just thoughts about everything we just discussed with everybody.
There's a lot of thoughts. Can I pass the buck down the line?
Absolutely.
I just
Yeah.
kind of think for a
Absolutely.
little bit
Process.
longer. I
Well,
want to
see,
make sure.
Takes a while to
that's the idea of the
process.
podcast. It's to get you to think about things that you never thought about before. And that's one thing I can honestly tell you. The biggest feedback I've gotten from emails and comments from people that go, I've never thought of it that way. That's all we're trying to do here is stimulate thought. And then if you do agree, and believe it or not, some people could disagree and then agree, and some people could agree and then disagree. That's the greatest part about it. But if you don't have these, but here, think this way. Society today doesn't want people to have these discussions. I guarantee this will be censored eventually.
Yep.
You understand? It will be. We can not say the F word like they don't want us to right now. We can do everything they want that way. But someone is going to get this. This happened yesterday. All of a sudden, we went to do our live on TikTok and Instagram. Immediately when I just pop on, people start flagging it as negative and hate speech. I haven't even said a word yet. Because, believe it or not, no matter how many we may see some things eye to eye, there's a lot of people who don't like you or like me. But once again, like Stevie said that way, is most people are scared to be censored. Why? You saying?
You know, we can't talk about God in schools, but we can talk about transgender. And we wonder why we're backwards right now. It's not a shock. Why? You know what? Let's have a fun little talk here. Hey, you can talk about transgender, but you got to talk about God too and let that kid decide. I guarantee, but that's just a little side joke. But we can't talk about God, but we talk about transgender, vaccines, all these things. And we wonder why our society is going down the crapper. It's that black and white for me in a way. There's a lot, I get it, there's gray and there's the exceptions and not the rules. But you took the biggest piece of the puzzle out and you wonder, and people are so shocked, why are we falling apart? We took God out. It's that simple. And until we stop, doing everything we feel like we should be doing and start repenting and start getting back to chasing after him, just like David did in the Old Testament, right? He did a lot of stupid stuff. You think transgender is stupid? You should see the stuff he did. He still chased after God through repentance. You know what I'm talking. He's laughing because you know what he did.
Yeah.
He killed his best friend after
Yeah.
nailing his wife,
Yeah.
his
Yep.
best friend's wife. I mean, my point is this: we're losing focus on what was important, what got us to this point in America.
I posted a meme a couple weeks ago, and it said simply, what if, not that they were going to, what if teachers started to secretly baptize kids in school?
Ooh, yeah.
Whoa, yeah, wow. There was a lot of
We have
positives, because I weeded out a lot of bad people, but I picked up some, and I got, that could never happen, can't do that. And my only comment was, well, why are they allowed then to tell boys they can be girls?
Yep.
Why? Because you realize teachers can do anything they want in the schools.
Is this actually happening? I'm very active in my son's school and
Yeah,
No,
it's
nobody's
happening all-
baptizing
it's
anybody.
happening
But
all
no,
over.
I'm,
okay, I'm just saying.
I'm actually
No,
like
you'd hear
you
about
guys
that.
have
They
all
are putting
mentioned
litter
it now.
boxes
and I'm like
in the bathrooms,
thinking to
but they're
myself,
not baptizing.
You've all mentioned it now in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. That my son, 10-year-old little shaped mind,
Yeah.
is somehow inadvertently being told it's okay to be a girl, which
Yep.
you know what, go for it. For all I care, he's got both of his ears pierced. I really don't care. But
Yes, you do.
no, I don't.
Yes, you do.
You know what?
because
Down the
because,
line,
because
if he wants to be,
maybe when
I'm
he's
all
25
for
or
it.
30, but so I disagree because
Okay.
you do care because he's not mentally capable, as you mentioned.
If he
Absolutely.
were to want to change right now, yes, I do care.
Okay.
Because
That's-
that's
that was-
different. No, there is
Okay.
no way in shape or
Right,
form my
that's-
son is going to
that was
change
my
his
point.
body right now.
That was my point.
But down the line, when his mind is capable of making that choice,
Correct.
go for it. I would have no doubts. But I'm curious, are they really doing that in schools?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I thought I was actually really like,
Even in hospitals, you know, I mean, we just had my son's 13-year-old checkup, which I am 100% against. This is my doctor here, but he had to give us permission to be in the room to help make decisions on his future. A 13-year-old's not ready for that. I had to do all that. Like I'm sitting there, and my wife's there. She can tell you, our jaws drop, going, really? So what's the reason for that? Vaccines? You can fix them into doing that and being convinced to do that on their own, or the birth control or transgender. Back to the topic. What's the point of that? There has to be a point. What's the value in that? And it's happening everywhere. That's just one example of many. And it's a slow drip. I think you talked about slow drip of indoctrination, and it's happening all over. And that's what it's like the frog. You've heard the story of the frog in the water. You turn the heat on slow. Frog's fine. It's getting warmer and warmer. Now it's hot. Frog's still in there. He realizes it's hot when it's too late. He's already being boiled. That's us right now.
Daniel Scott.
I mean, kids are a big thing, you know, like in this topic. And we should probably be clear too that like we're talking about transgender and everything, and we've said LGBTQ, and we're not claiming here that every one of those people wants to groom kids. Like, just to be very clear about that, the vast majority of that community of people is actually really against that. There's a whole social media account called Gays Against Groomers that was started by a woman, a little over a year ago. She actually lives in Milwaukee. I wanted to get her to come on. But who started that because she has a platform and, you know, saw the need for that and wanted to stand up and say that, hey, like the vast majority of people in our community do not think this is okay. And I kind of said this before that like gay people are being used as a shield to just protect groomers. And honestly, like hate for groomers is kind of warranted at this point because we don't need people who are attacking kids. And I think actually technically groomer is considered an anti-LGBTQ slur now. Technically, I think if you look at that, if you look up Gays Against Groomers, it's a right-wing anti-LGBTQ group. So if you want to, like, you know, out yourself as someone who's a pedophile, you just say that you hate Gays Against Groomers. So there's that. But the kids are an important piece of this. And I mean, even just look at how that whole community is represented, right? It's this rainbow flag. Like, okay, I mean, besides the whole irony of the rainbow being a very big Christian symbol, like, think about what the rainbow also is, like, for kids. Like, that's, like, a fun little thing that you get to go draw. You learn the colors. There's leprechauns involved in it, and it's just this cute, like, little fun thing. And now we've turned it into the leprechaun wants dick in his ass. Like, I mean, you know, like, just this whole sexualization of kids. It's insane.
You just answered my question. I was about to ask you, how does one gay man's penis know to open up and accept the other gay man's penis?
Don't work like that.
Okay, well, thank you.
No
I'll
work.
write that down.
The Office, right?
You
That's
needed
where you're
that
getting it from,
notepad
right?
for that.
I love that episode.
I was gonna say I have no idea what you guys are talking about right now. Zero.
There's an episode of The Office where I mean, they're not talking about trans people, they're talking about gay people, but like I don't think they let it air anymore, but it's hilarious. And Oscar, who's the gay guy, and
Michael.
no,
Scott.
not Michael.
Dwight.
The warehouse guy.
Oh,
The big guy,
Daryl.
whatever, Daryl. They pretend to be a gay couple so they can like go get a deal on pedicures on Valentine's Day or whatever, and then the Chinese lady at the pedicure place is like, no work. I don't think they let that one air anymore, but it's my very favorite one. Anyway.
So I got a question for.
He's been waiting.
Anyway,
He's been waiting
just like,
patiently for
whatever.
it to be done.
He just
No, it's
patiently
fantastic.
waited.
It's like
Hey,
I
you
got a
can cut me
question
off.
for Steve, Dave, and Ashley on this. Because here's what happens to this, and I think Ashley, you'll have to answer us the most this way. Have you ever talked to a mother that's had their child transition?
Yes.
Steve?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Got her. Because I think that what happens is this is, and this is the one thing that's happening, and you're seeing this happening more and more, and I get to talk to the moms that had them transition and stuff of this. It's very difficult for me to watch people talk about transgender and letting their kids do it until they've actually had a full conversation with moms for all the stuff that their kids went through as they've been convinced about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, people try to what they do. They try, like I said, they try to lump it together and stuff and say, transgender and the whole LGBT, all the alphabet aspects that way to like, well, they're just a big movement that way. But so there's this having feelings for the same sex is much different than mutilating the body that way.
Right.
You say, and so that's why.
I find that moms are actually, well, moms and dads really are really actually hurt by it.
Yeah.
It's like a whole community of people that's not being addressed in
Yes.
the hurt of all
Oh, I
of
know.
us.
That's the people that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say, because they don't give those people. CNN doesn't give people those moms a talk. CNN don't give those people, so that's why it's very tough to support.
Chris Rufo just put out a short documentary called Cluster B Society. I sent it to you guys. I don't know you didn't get it yet,
Yep.
but in that he addressed the impact of mothers on transgender kids.
Yep.
50% of the mothers of all the transgender, or the ones who were transitioning, were mentally unstable. Unstable.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
50%.
Yep.
And he had a clinical term for it.
So 50% of the what?
I'm sorry.
Of
Fe-
moms.
Of
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 the
a
mothers,
transitioning kid.
of the kids who were transitioning. So the kids had no basis. And Walt Heyer was a guy who transitioned when he was 40. And when he was 40, he decided he needed to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
When he was 48, he woke up and decided that he was a man. He had already done everything, full surgery. So he detransitioned. He's a man. Since then, he has a thing. He's got a website called Sex Change Regrets, and it's 40 years now. He's been in counseling, and 90% of the boys that want to transition have been abused when they were young. Sexually abused when they were young. That's what he found. He was as well.
Right.
Okay. And he said that's never addressed, because you realize in the schools, if they talk about this, they won't send you a counselor. They will just have you transition.
Right.
You can't talk about this. Why can't you talk? Why can't a kid talk about being sexually abused? Because it brings those dark things out in society, and we don't want dark things out in society. We
Right.
want to keep them hidden. We want to keep them undercover.
Right.
And it creates all these things you're talking about. It's all about everybody wants to cover their ass, right?
Yep.
Nobody wants to take responsibility for their actions.
Yep. Well, see, and that's why if you look at it this way, if you look at even the whole LGBTQ movement and stuff, is what benefit does it have to society? I'm honestly, because the whole purpose of government is to make sure that society, that individual rights are protected and society thrives. And so that's why I keep on going back. Like I said, that's why I can tell you personally, I don't give a crap what a person does behind closed doors. But the idea is, if it doesn't bring that value to society, why is government even supporting something like that? You understand? Now, so I'm gonna throw something on this one, because I suspect I'm just going to put this out there. How many of you guys here are people of faith? Dave, Ashley. Okay. Well, that's perfect, Ashley, because we're gonna no, because it's gonna sound funny. It's really, and I want to clear this up for all of my YouTube audience and all my Instagram and Facebook audience and things like this, is because I'm so hard on the church and hard on Christian people think I'm not a person of faith. It's actually totally opposite. I'm probably stronger faith than most people.
I should
Okay.
actually clarify. What do you mean by person
Jesus.
of faith? Do I believe in Jesus?
Yes.
Yes. Do
Okay.
I believe in the church? No.
Thank you. So, but now here's why. See, that's why people a lot of times confuse.
Found a sister.
Fair.
You found a
You
sister.
found your new best friend.
But I now watch this. I'm going to articulate something. And remember, I wish there was a church in Green Bay that I could go to. You say, I will tell you the only church I'd even think of going to is his name is Pastor Ryan Kibbe and stuff like that. And but here's what happens. This is because I believe that if you look at our history, churches had a very monumental, great thing that helped with community and society and things like that. I think that's totally changed because here's what happens. Now, this is where I'm going to sound like not a Christian. All you guys were agreeing upon this with Travis and stuff of this. Now, I agree with Travis, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this. No pun intended. Okay. Do you understand the churches and LGBT community are very similar? Let me explain. As you guys are confused with what the LGBTQ movement and what they all stand for, they all have different things, they have different beliefs that way, and don't confuse this one. What do you think the churches do? Why do you think I went to Holy Family volleyball thing last night, and then you go to a non-denomination, and I drop my kids off at a Christian school that is and this, and there's Pentecostal. Guess what happens? Churches are just an LGBTQ, give it every denomination. And that's why people that sit there and go, you're no different. You're just as confusing because everyone in the churches say they have the truth. See, I know it's a different way of thinking, but that's why that's why I tell people it's like, so Ashley, me and you are on the same page that way. I think that you can grow in your faith greatly. But you know what's really funny? I cannot get two people to tell me the answer on this because all of a sudden I'll have a discussion about, okay, they'll talk about their faith and they're like, well, it's God's truth. Okay, which one? Which church you go to? Well, I'm Catholic. Okay, and you talk to Ruth and they believe they have truth. And you talk to now they have the truth. And what's the difference between that and LGBT movement? They all have different beliefs, they all have different stuff, but they have to have the same rights and things like that. I know it's really funny. I'm like going, church people, stop telling that you need to put God back in school, because if I were to ask each one of you guys how God should be taught in school, you probably have a different answer. Now all the LGBT people are going, thank you, Dr. Patrick, for saying stuff like that. But it's really true. There's no unity because once again, because of people always have and remember, think of it this way. If you didn't like L, you went to B, you started to just create more alphabets. Now they're stealing 25% of our alphabet now. Mm-hmm. Because they just, well, I'm not gay, I'm this, I'm and that's why, no joke. But there's that many denominations in churches, so what's the difference? Just a thought.
Cult, just like everything.
Just a thought. And that's why I believe churches have no credibility today. That's why I believe.
Wouldn't it come down to one thing? It's observation of mine,
yeah.
And you can agree or disagree.
Yep.
John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. If you believe that, you're probably going to heaven. So, all the denominations, I've been accused of, as a Protestant, Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Okay, I've been accused by Catholics of I should. What are you doing? You follow this Martin Luther guy who was a revolutionary, and he did this and he did that, and I'm thinking, I have nothing against you. My wife grew up in the whole Catholic school system, and we talk about it. And the point is that why do they're judging each other, okay? God, they're not allowing God to judge them. The Catholics are judging me. I'm not judging them because I'm okay with them, because I think they believe what I believe in essence. So, as far as that goes, if they would all just get together and say, okay, we agree on this one thing. Okay, Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world. Okay.
Yep.
Amen.
I've said that. I said, listen, there's always a starting point. And you're going to find out that they have some commonalities. But you'd be surprised how people want to talk about the exceptions, not the rules.
Exceptions. There you go. That's it right there.
It's very.
You hit the nail
And
on the head.
I watch people that I would love to do life with legitimately don't like other people because they don't believe once saved, always saved. They don't believe this. And you're actually seeing that watch this. The LGBT community is whatever their alphabets are. And I'm not being disrespectful. I just think they're stupid. Okay. But here's that. Just like I think churches are stupid, because that's why you go to a church and then all of a sudden you just have one thing they don't like. And now I got to start my own denomination.
Yep.
And then that's why even the community of churches or LGBT community, that's why there's going to keep on being more alphabets, more denominations, because you know why? Once again, they're not binding on something that could be agreed upon that would actually allow people that have commonalities. You say, and I can actually sum up I can tell you, I mean, no joke. For some reason, when I was in practice, and it happens now, lesbian couples love me. They did. And even though my staff is laughing back there, and Christy's laughing, it's kind of funny. It's like they did. Because once again, because I believe that you can treat anybody with dignity and respect and humanity that way. And I believe that's what Jesus called me to do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, but when they would ask me if I agreed with it, I was strong enough in my faith and my beliefs and stuff that I'd say, no, it's not good for society. Because you two are women, and if you were the only two left on earth, we're all screwed. There's no more population. You understand? And so therefore, I have no problem with what you do behind closed doors. And I even said this to them, and I'm going to be very clear about this. I've even said to them, it's like, okay, listen, is what you want to do, and I believe in individual rights and stuff like that. I think it's fantastic. I fight for people's individual rights. But then what happens is this. As you try to force your ideas on somebody else, and especially to be accepted that way and not have debate on it and actually feel like they're and remember, when anybody tries to disagree with somebody, they have to label you with something. You say, like I got labeled for my video the other day that I'm a misogynist because I said, women, guess what? Use your sexuality to help the testosterone go up. And every woman's like, that's a great idea. And a couple women are like, that's misogynist. And then people are worried about being called names. That's why I think we have to bring back bullying a little bit with people.
Yeah.
Make people a little tougher.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Did anybody know how I learned how to swim? I got pushed in the water by my parents. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I got pushed in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, swim. I was going to start sucking some water down. Now they're not going to let you drown, but they're going to let you suck some gallon of water in first. You understand? We've been so, overprotective because we've had it so easy for a long time and stuff on there. So like I said, that's why I think that so we talk about, the commonalities we talk about, it's like, but here's what happens this, the minute, and that's why there's so many Christian churches, that's why there's so many different schools, there's Catholic schools, there's Lutheran schools, there's non-denominational schools, all stuff of this, because the minute that there's something that doesn't fall within everything they believe, you know what I'm saying? I've already told people this. Anybody that's around me, guess what happens? You're not going to believe everything I believe. Even if we live life together, you're not going to believe everything we believe. I don't think we should believe everything we believe because there's going to be an evolution of thought that way that happens and stuff. So, Dave, you've been a little quiet over there. I want to get some thoughts from what you got going on in your brain.
Oh, I feel like you keep just coming back to me right away instead of...
I always love to give everybody an opportunity to share their thoughts and stuff like that. So I think it's very important.
I can see what you're talking about with the parallels between the LGBTQ and the church. I can see that. And, I do agree with you that we need to, instead of focusing on what we differ on, let's focus more on what we agree on. And then we won't have all these different branches of denominations or what's the next consonant or vowel that's going to be added to the LGBTQI plus A, whatever the rest of it is. So, having open dialogue and trying to understand and agreeing on things instead of focusing on what we differ on. Yeah, that's just so important, and that's something that I do want to try to teach my kids, especially my 3 and my 11-month-old, as they get older, as, instead of worrying about, oh, I disagree because I want this toy and you want the same toy, or a different toy, or whatever it is. I'm kind of screwing up that analogy there, but, let's just focus on what we can agree upon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on what we can try to build together, in our household and in our community instead of focusing on the division. So,
Yep. Do you know what's so funny?
Yeah.
Do you know, it's kind of hilarious. I've always said most parents teach their kids legal theft.
Ooh, I'm interested.
Explain that.
Because here's what happens this. I never tell my kids to share their stuff. If I bought them a present, it's their present. Well, share it with your sister. No. Your sister has their own presents. Because here's what happens this. I'm wealthy. And you come along and say, I want some of Dr. Patrick's stuff. And because I'm going to tell you, no, it's not yours, you're going to go and grab a mailman. Mom, Johnny won't share the toy with me. And what does mom and dad say? Share it. I'm like going, no, I bought you 10 damn things. Play with your own fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I'm glad we got that out.
That one's out of
Finally.
I love that. I get really ticked off because this is what Calista does all the time. Felicity will get something, like one of our nannies sitting right here, she's laughing. Felicity will get something new. And Calista will grab it and start playing with it. I'm like, put that shit down. That's not yours. You have a room full of stuff that you go play with. See what it really is? Stop telling your kids to freaking share. I actually will say, listen, well, my kid doesn't have it. Well, you suck as a parent. Then I can afford it. You can't.
Got him.
We have to bring some shaming back to people to get their ass moving and stuff. Because everybody wants somebody. You think I'm joking? When I actually did this, when we took the private jet over to Michigan the other day, I purposely prepping for the show. I posted it. Do you understand? Because I knew, and it's always. And sorry, ladies, it's always some woman that has to make something. Do you want some of this? Women have mouths now today that 50 years ago they get punched in the mouth by saying like that, especially to a man.
That's true.
Especially to a man.
I will say amen to that.
Yep.
You know, it's like going, and she's like, way to show off when you had, during Biden's economy. I built my economy with, till 2:00 in the morning from 1999 on. You understand? And it's like, so sorry you can't be in a private jet. I'm sorry that your husband watches the Packers.
Not sorry.
You understand? No, I'm not sorry because I'm going to
Sorry,
join a
not
private
sorry.
jet. You understand? No, but that's the point. It's like and see, these are the things we discuss. Like, I will never tell my kids to share. I'll never tell my kids to share with somebody else. You saying? Now, once again, because we're talking about toys and things like that. Now, if there was a child that didn't have food, that's a little different because there would be detriment to it that way. But you got to understand, I'd never tell my kids to share. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Because you know why? Because here's what happens this. Because then by the kids, I want the kids to go home and go, Daddy, why does Dr. Patrick's kid have an iPad and I don't? Well, because I like to watch a Packer game and waste 3 hours of my life instead of actually getting my ass out there and making some money so I could get you what you need. I know it's a different perspective, but I'll say I look at life very differently and stuff on there. And people go, makes a lot of sense, but it also makes people do what? It also makes them feel insecure too.
Yep.
I hope that I want guys around me, men, not women, men around me to be like, I need to step up my game. Do you understand? So it's kind of funny when you brought up about the kids and stuff like that. I was like going, I have to bring I never shared that concept with many people on there. Because I will never teach my kids how to share. Ever.
Sharing is not caring all the time.
Yeah. Well, remember this, because it even happens internally. It's like if my daughter will take that. Even when I give Christmas presents or things like that to my kids, I'll look at Callista, I'll look at the girls and say, don't you dare take their presents. You got your own. Do you understand? You ever notice it's like a cat? You can wrap up, give them a present, and they play with the box. It's like the present's right here. Play with that one. You understand?
That is so true.
That is so true.
Our
Krista, what
dogs
you
are
got?
that way.
Oh goodness, lots of stuff there, Doc. Going back to the parallels between the church and the LGBTQ community, and what kept coming to me is where there's division, there cannot be unity, and I mean that's the agenda, right? Is confuse, focus on the differences instead of the similarities, and as long as we do that, you can't have a unified front.
Right. And remember, in the minute you can create division, then what happens is this. Because there's people that are extremely passionate about things. And so what they do is this. And what they'll do is they'll run to somebody that can force in society something to happen. See, a politician should really sit back and go, does this affect somebody's individual rights? You're saying? Because once you take away people's individual rights, it's going to be detrimental to society. You saying? And that's what I tell people. I'm very big for people's individual rights. But so when you try to force it on society, is it good for society? See, that's the point you come back to on those topics that way. So, Travis, we're going to go around, and Steve, we're going to interview, and then we're going to go into our next question. But what you got, Travis?
I think to what you said about the church, I'll go back to the church. I think there's division specifically because of the way they believe, and it's causing a lot of different denominations. We got to keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
And I had the honor and privilege of marrying a couple. I was the officiant for the Walton family and the Gindel family this weekend. It was awesome, and I felt the Lord prick my heart.
Sunday, 2 days ago, way fast.
Time flies when you're having fun. But I went and talked about a simple gospel message. I brought up 4 stories that all end with the same thing. It's the thief on the cross. He didn't get baptized. He didn't do communion. He didn't do his Hail Marys, the rosary. He simply believed and asked Jesus to remember him in his kingdom. And he took him with. He said, truly I tell you, you'll be with me in paradise. Then so we'll call him the dumb guy. And then we have the smart guy, allegedly, the Pharisee, told him the same thing. And then we have the dead guy, and Lazarus told everybody after he raised him from the dead, to believe. And then, oh yeah, one of his closest people, Thomas, he told to touch the holes in his hands and in his side. And they all ended with the same thing, believe. But wait, there's more, the church says. You got to get baptized. You got to do communion. You got to grab your rosary and do this and this and that. Now we got this stupid idiot in Minnesota, a female Lutheran preacher, whatever they're called there, talking about praying to the rainbow Jesus gods and the female Mother Mary. Are you kidding me? No wonder why people are running.
Yeah.
No wonder why people they don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
We got to peel back the onion and look at what the Bible says. And it's simple. And it's just not, it's in many different spots. I just picked out 4. He says it all over the place, but we make it as humans so damn difficult. That's why people leave. That's why people walk away from the church. They don't know what to believe.
Dana, what you got?
With the whole division thing that we've been talking about, I think, it comes back to that whole united we stand and divided we fall, and we the people are the ones who are in charge, and we the people are like the people in this room, not those like handful of puppet masters that are sitting at the top. There's only like 1,000 or 2 of them, and there's 8 billion people. Like, there's really no reason that we shouldn't go chop their heads off, put them on the White House lawn and stakes, and make an example of how people need to be treated if they ever treat us like that again. I digress. But I mean, I don't. I say that a lot. Yeah. But see, the thing is they're really good at creating this division and creating chaos among people, because look at what we're sitting here doing right now. We're sitting here and talking about transgender people. 50 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about this because it wasn't even a thing. This is like a new kind of made up problem that has come about just to distract us from other bigger problems that actually matter.
Exactly.
Amen.
Now, Danny brought up something that I posted the other day, and you should have seen barely anybody would comment or like it, because I know what people do. They're like, I can't believe you like that. People confuse this all the time. Violence is never the answer. It's a solution.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
The guillotine.
It's a solution.
Or the wood chipper.
Because you know why? Because it's
Both.
really funny. Because if there isn't an element of fear, it's really funny. Because remember, if we can leave violence out, what it does, there's no consequence. You understand? Everybody, your child, if you discipline for a reason, a lot of times they stay out of bad behaviors because they're worried about the consequence. There's just no consequences. I mean, think this way. They've pulled consequences away for people that steal, but it's not $900, so guess what happens? We can take it for somebody else. I mean, just by nature, think about how disgusting that is. And we talk about this way. That's why and the reason why I brought this up is Dana brought up violence a couple times. How do you think we became a country? Love and acceptance?
We whooped their ass.
Yeah, we did. Ashley, what you got?
Love of guns.
Honestly, there's a lot that happened.
Of course.
Then, there's a phrase that I honestly will say all the time, and it can be taken with a positive stance as well as a negative, and that is, I will approach religion, and that can be the alphabetical community that we're talking about. It's a cult. You're trying to change your way, and that can be Lutherans, Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic. I'm not today. I'm not raising my child that. My husband's parents actually baptized my son back, 9.5 years ago when he was baptized. I was fuming. I was so mad that it even happened. I was like, how could you do that behind my back? And they did it as Seventh-day Adventist. That's what he was baptized as. Now I look back and I'm like, you were sprinkled with some water.
Aren't they vegan?
Sure. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think I spoke there one time. They actually brought in health stuff. I say, aren't they vegan? Yeah. Yeah, I think they're vegan too. And it's like, I can't, yeah. That's funny.
Okay.
So,
What's a
That's
vegan?
how I see it.
yeah. Steve,
A
what's got?
very sad
Love that.
person.
Is there bacon
A
and
very
vegetables?
sad
I
person.
got a lot, but
We got more topics
You
to
don't
cover.
have
so-
enough time, yeah. So we'll just to make it short. It's all planned. This is all planned out. They've got this. They've got it wired. Who's running the show? Trump was never supposed to be in there. Hillary was supposed to be in there because the deep state. And if you don't believe it, it's there. It's the people that Dana was talking about. The 1,000 heads on the stakes. They're there. Okay. Who owns all the banks? The Rothschilds. So we're not controlling anything. Probably 95% of elected officials are controlled, at least in the Congress. so what are we going to do? As I've watched a number of podcasts recently, like literally in the last week, the predominant, and you'll like this, the predominant theme is violence. It's armed revolution. It's civil war.
It's coming.
And right, it's inevitable because they will never allow us to have what we want. They're going to take our money away. When they take the money away, they made the mistake that they didn't take the guns first. And that's where the United States is the anomaly. It's the exception, but
Yep.
in the world.
That's why it can't fall.
Right, because there's too many guns, and the only way they can nuke us, but it's silly to nuke your own country. Okay. Other than that, we have to organize.
Yep.
And take it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there needs to be a masculine trait that the United States and our men bring back, because I know it's really funny, and where Dana and I started to really connect more was the fact that she shouldn't be sitting in an audience fighting politically and then she stood up and said, we're all the men. And I was like, and I was like, okay. And remember, we knew each other. I'm like, Dana, you got to get a little voice out there, because she's saying, where's all the men? And I was always embarrassed. I'm sitting there speaking to a group full of women. I'm going, I'm at a political rally. You're saying it's like, we talk about the founding fathers. We never talk about the founding mothers, because there was none.
Right.
There's a reason why there wasn't, because then there would have been equal outcome. Well, Britain should get a participation trophy and this, and this, and you should feel a little bit sorry for them because they did do this. Sorry, it's what it comes down to.
They were busy making the sandwiches for all the soldiers.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And soldiers were happy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's on our topic.
Was there gluten back then?
That's right.
It was okay
different.
back then.
It was
But no
different.
glyphosate, so that's okay.
Yeah,
That's right.
True, actually.
So, great discussion, guys. I love it. Now, once again, got some
We're
great
great.
comments. I love that we're live. I love that. Who's responding from the I Disagree? Who's responding right now? Because it's fantastic. You guys are responding to people that way. Great job,
Good.
everybody, and stuff like that. I love Gene's last comment, faith over religion, and stuff. So,
You only did one so far.
oh yeah, you always call it
Sorry.
the beta male, whatever it is that way.
I'll see if I can break some more out.
Okay.
We'll
Yes.
see.
So thank you guys are all live. Thank you to Travis. Great job running the cameras back and forth. He's keeping up with everybody, bouncing back and forth. Great job. I love. I knew the podcast was going to be impactful, and people are staying on. No one's leaving and stuff like that. It's kind of cool because they're watching great individuals that have even sometimes difference of viewpoints that way share it, and it helps people figure out their own ideas. That's what ideas, but people to be able, and maybe the ideas that you guys have already said gives people the opportunity to articulate some of the things that they truly believe. That's all I'm hoping to get from this is people be able to articulate their ideas and defend their ideas and have a position on it that way so people can move forward. And you're going to find out, like I said, you find out they have more commonalities than differences. You know what I'm saying? And so now, this is going totally 180 now, our second statement.
Let's go.
You'll like
Yeah,
this
this
one.
one.
Oh,
You'll
this
like
is only
this
the
one.
second one?
Yeah.
Yes, only second one. Dave, we're going to start with you.
great.
Okay? So here we go. And this is right up your alley. Okay? Here we go. Here we go. Wrong one. Here we go. The way you look reflects the way you truly feel about yourself. So let me say it again. The way you look reflects the way you truly feel about yourself.
I agree.
I agree 100%.
The two workout guys.
I agree.
Do I get to be the workout girl?
You can be workout.
I agree.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Good for you. I'm just saying.
Now let me go over it again to get this. The way you look reflects the way you truly feel about yourself. Now let me expound upon that way. It's like, and I'll make it very simple. Now, my stuff is always going to be tailored to men. Okay, just because once again, I'm not a woman. Once again, now people say, but Doc, you built your whole career just on understanding female hormones. Yes, that's very different. But I could still never go through. And I sat down with a woman and said, listen, I can physiologically understand what your body's going through. I can probably even tell you some of the symptoms you're going through, but I can never experience it. Okay, so a lot of times when I give you viewpoints, I'm going to come from a man's standpoint. I will tell you this: I've sat in $1 million deals and said no because the guy was overweight. Because I'm like going, if you're not disciplined, because remember, a person that's disciplined will say no to the extra food. A person that's disciplined will say something, and I'm like going, and in business, you better be damn disciplined. So that's why I talk about when I go in, the way you look reflects the way you truly feel about yourself, because here's what happens with this, is I believe there's three things that make up a man. is mind, muscle, money. And therefore, it's like, so therefore, you need all three of them. If a person just has money, I know it sounds funny, I don't always want to do business with you because life is more than just business. You know what I'm saying? There's wonderful people that make great money and they happen to stumble come on a product, but their mind's horrible and never want to be with them. I believe it has to be more of a well-rounded guy. You know what I'm saying? On the flip side, I see people that are go to the gym all the time and they have men and they're physically fit, but they're broke. Do you say, I'm like, can't trust that guy either. It's got to be a little bit more rounded. So that's why, but I really do take the fact that it's like when you are putting things together, it's like the way you look reflects the way that you truly feel about yourself. Dave, let's start with you.
So I look at a couple of the moments I felt the lowest with my self-esteem, and that was when I was 270 pounds. And we're not talking about a muscular 270 pounds. We're talking double quarter pounder cheese, 270 pounds
Dang.
right there.
That's
And
hard.
Dang.
that was like my aha moment where I got to get my shit together. Or for one, I have heart conditions that run in my family. I could die at a young age. But two, I was single at the time. How am I going to actually attract a nice person to eventually want to settle down with me?
Yep.
And when I decided to make the decision of, okay, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start working on myself. Because that's where it first starts is once I started to get my self-confidence again, then I started to feel better. I started to look better. And then there's just a different aura about me. And, that's what changed my life. And that's what ultimately changed my career path as well, which led me to becoming a personal trainer as well. But, I don't really think of I'm a guy that wears Wranglers and a t-shirt I bought for $15 or whatever. I'm not thinking of it that way. Just your appearance, are you clean shaven or do you have a 3-day scruff because you're too lazy? And sometimes, don't get me wrong, I get that myself. Or, do you have holes in your pants that are showing your butt crack or your underwear or whatever, But the way you present yourself, yeah. It's the way you value yourself, and it's the way other people will value you in return with the way you look. So,
Just so we're all clear, scruff is attractive. I'm just throwing that out there.
give me about 3 weeks. I'll have
'Kay.
a 5 o'clock shadow then.
Takes me 6.
Got you beat then. All right.
Yeah.
I grow in a day. I just have to shave every day.
It's because you're a real man.
Crystal.
I completely agree. And right along the lines of Dave, I think about some of the times where I was at my lowest and how I physically presented myself and how much I cared or didn't care. It was a direct reflection of where I was at. And to the point where I acknowledge that now, where if I am not feeling the greatest about myself, I will throw on something nice because it will work the opposite way. And I'll put on something nice and I will feel better. And, people respond to you, more openly. And it's a loop that feeds itself. So I completely agree. And I think it's very important to care how you look. It directly affects how you feel and people react to you.
Travis.
I think the rule is that, yeah, absolutely. There's so many ways you can go with this, but when I got fat, I had my 268 back in 2013 when I
Still got you
started.
beat.
Yeah, whatever.
See,
Always a
men,
little
competition.
short.
There's always a competition for men. See,
I was
guys,
fatter.
Yeah, well, my goatee's better than yours. I don't know if that's true.
It's true.
But it's
We can vote
it
before you
is a
guys leave.
direct reflection. It was for me my entire life of how, if I can tell you right now, when I was chubby, I felt like I looked. So is it the absolute end of everything of that's exactly who you are? No, because why? We all get old and everything goes from up here down here. It's just the way it is, right? But there is value in how you look. I like the Jerry Rice concept. If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. And he's the GOAT, in my opinion, at least in the receiver department. So yes, you need to look good. I think you need to look professional. You need to act like you care about yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, can you really take care of others? And if you really are taking care of everybody else and not yourself, that's saying something about your character as well.
Yeah.
They did this as a experiment where they actually took a guy who was a DJ, and no joke, and they cleaned him up and put him in a suit and walked into a business meeting, and people gave him a ton of money. He told me he was a financial planner, and he barely knew what he was talking about that way. But by how he looked was one of the reasons why they did it, compared to when they moved him and said they put him in as a DJ, coming in, showing his tattoos, everything like that. And guess what happens? Then people wanted to give them no money. So they do thoughts experiments on that. Dana, what you got?
So I put quite a bit of effort into how I look, actually, and I can tell you that I feel pretty good about myself. I work out every day, and I do that so that I look good in my clothes and out of my clothes. And when it comes to my clothes, I've made a really conscious effort in the last, I don't know, year probably, to really only wear things that make me feel like $1 million. And my hair girl is the best hair girl in the whole entire world. Every time I walk in the door, she knows exactly what I need, and she's literally the only human on this earth who could ever fix my eyebrows. And I mean, you're looking at me right now, like clearly I have makeup on, right? Like that's not a secret that I try to hide from anybody or anything. And I mean, I don't want to wear so much that I don't look like myself, but I also want to have, like a little bit of a facelift, right? But all of that is, okay, but why? Because why does that matter, and why would I do something like that? Well, I mean, I do things like that because I know that when I walk into the room, I'm the strongest one in the room. And it doesn't matter if I actually am or not. I believe it to be true and know it to be true. And kind of like we've already said, whether you like it or not, people who have better appearances automatically command more attention and more respect than those who don't. And that's why I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley.
I will agree with you on that, because I can tell you up until probably noon, this girl was in a messy bun and some PJs. And that's where you're going to find me 24/7. I probably for 3-4 weeks now have been recovering from pneumonia. Don't worry, not contagious any longer.
We're not worried about that.
We're not
either.
worried.
Okay, let's go.
We're
No,
not
we're
worried.
good.
Yeah.
No, you're in good company.
Feel free to
You're a
cough.
very safe place.
But I am super comfortable dropping my son off at elementary school with greasy hair and PJs, and I don't care. I mean, probably the secretary at the school knows me on the regular as dropping off my son's lunch every single day and talking to her for 10-15 minutes looking like a schlab. And I don't care. I'm mentally happy. I'm where I am at currently. I guess maybe not currently because I'm not graduated from college yet. But for where I possibly could be, I'm happy.
So, question for you.
Yeah.
You have a business, right?
Yes.
Do you have a retail business, or how do you do your sales?
We are in the process of going to be having a retail business.
Okay.
We're in one or two stores.
Okay. Oh, so you have a product that you go to you have a distribution then, like somebody
No,
else
we
dis-
actually manufacture it all on our
But
own.
you manufacture, but you have somebody else distribute it. You have different stores that that sell your
Yes,
product.
yep.
Do you walk in with a frumpy hair bun, things like that, to those people that you want to sell your product to?
I don't know, you'll have to ask my husband.
I suspect the answer would
Because
possibly
I'm going to
no.
go back to what she said there, is when my husband walks into a room, he's present. He's
Right.
there. If I walk into a room, I'm meek. Now you get me on the phone, probably none of you guys have realized that I used to be a salesperson and I was top notch at it. I can talk all your ears off and I could probably sell every single one of you what I sell
Challenge.
on the phone,
Yeah.
not in person.
Steve, what you got?
I can't beat your weight things, okay? Because I only topped out at 224, so I know you guys have tried to attain that. But
Third place, no big
fatter.
deal.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm way down there. But 9 years
Third
ago,
place.
He just shook his head like he's proud.
I did it.
Yeah, I win.
Winning at life right there.
That's right.
I was in Chicago and I was speaking. I graduated with from my master's, and I was at the night before ceremony with my wife and a beautiful young lady, and I was in between them, and we had our pictures taken. And I looked at myself, and I was fat, okay. And I looked at myself, and I wasn't happy. And since then, and you realize that I'm not your age, and I'm not using that as an excuse, but it is a little bit harder when you're 66 to lose weight. It's really easy to gain weight, okay, really easy. I look at food and I gain weight. So, but I'm making a conscious effort to get down, and I've been down to 40 pounds, 184, and I'm close to that right now.
It's awesome.
And I feel so much better. It's unbelievable, okay? So what happens when I feel better?
Right.
I function. I function at a much higher level. Okay, I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of enthusiasm. All the things that I want to do in life, I look at completely different than when I was fat, which I considered myself fat, and I was fat, but not obese, I guess. Even though when I went in at 194, my doctor, because I don't see doctors anymore, but at the time, she said I was obese, and I just kind of looked at her, you know. Anyway, you
was probably
you get that
obese
whole
too.
spiel, right? Because she wanted to put me on meds, right? You knew cholesterol down, whatever. So as I feel better, my knees, since I lost all that weight, my knees have been so good. 30 years ago, I was going to have my left knee replaced. It was so bad, and my doctor agreed with me, and I have no issues now. So how I look, you know, I love to tan. I don't go in a tanning bed. I go in the sun. Okay, and I feel great. We just came back from Florida, and my wife has some chronic illnesses, and whenever we go in the sun, in the sand, and the salt water, she comes back and she's healthy like she was before she got sick 12 years ago. And she came back this time, and she was just, and I mentioned this to you, you know, she's clean because there's no toxins. Now she come up here, you know, first thing we do is we get sprayed, and you know, who knows, but she'll get them back, and then we'll go back. We'll go to Aruba, or Florida, wherever. She'll get all better. Now the answer is to go there more often, and I understand that, and that's what we're going to do. But how we feel about ourselves, both of us agree, and I think that some of you have mentioned this. You know, as Dana said, you know, when you walk in the room, I want that same thing. Okay, yep. I want people to look at me and say, "Wow."
Yep. Now watch this. Just a comment on here from Gene. No, clothes do not define the man defines the clothes. That's the exception, not the rule. Do you understand? Because see what people do, people like to always talk the exceptions because of the one person they know that, once again, that dresses nice and he's a dick. Or the nice guy who dresses really horrible but he's great. You understand? But in general, I've never met a woman, and because I get to go to certain events, I've never met a woman that their husband didn't get dressed up in a nice suit and look like a G, and guess what happens? They're like, oh, nah, he looks better in his jeans and his t-shirt. I've never seen a woman say that. You say, no, once again, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but that's why when a person, I make a requirement, if you're going to be a guy around here, you're going to have some suit jackets. You understand? And no joke, and if you couldn't afford it, I'd probably go to Men's Wearhouse and buy you some, just because you're going to enter the world with a little bit more respect. You really do. And because once again, when a person, you know, really takes their physical appearance, you know, a little bit more serious, they're taken a little bit more serious. Sorry, you know, if you look at the rules, I've never seen an ugly fat woman become a pharmaceutical drug rep. You guys laugh like crazy, but it's true. You know what I'm saying?
You can be
I've
Victoria's
seen
Secret
them.
model,
They all
it's
look
fine,
great.
but-
They don't.
Yeah,
they all look great.
there's certain look that they're looking for. I have an acquaintance. Her name is Kim. She was very beautiful when she was young, and of course, you know, obviously her looks has changed as she got older. She's still, you know, very beautiful, but from a standards for what they want to do for sales, there's a 23-year-old that's going to take her job over. It's quite known in a pharmaceutical drug rep. You're gonna age out of the job. You say, but then you can see males keep that job for a long period of time, and just because you're gonna have some other blonde bombshell that's gonna come along and outsell them, because you know that's just what happens. Now, once again, I'm not saying that every person that can't be a great salesman if they're not a blonde bombshell, but the idea is that's why their society buys it. They've never done that. You give a good-looking woman something to sell. That's why I tell people, I kind of laughed. They give that Bud Light transgender person. They sorry, that's not gonna get people to buy their beer. Right. And these
Well, their
fat
sales went
Victoria's
down.
Secret models don't get you to buy the undies. They don't. You know what I'm saying? I actually legitimately took my daughters. We were shopping just months ago, and we were walking by the store, and of course they had these fat obese models of Victoria's Secret. I said, girls, that's not attractive. No guy thinks that's attractive. And for the guys that do say it's attractive, because they couldn't get a good looking woman. Do you understand? Nobody looks at it. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit models. No one got that because of fat women. I know everybody laughs when I say, I was like, oh man, there's people pissed off. I don't give a shit you're pissed off. You understand? It's like, because once again, I'm sorry, anybody can lose weight. woman or man. Yes, there are some exceptions to the rule. I've had to deal with that clinically, to where there's women that, for example, can reduce their calories, do everything, but that's the exception, not the rule. So that's why here, watch this. I've still never met a woman that got really dressed up and a guy compliment them that they didn't feel even a little bit better about themselves. It's just by nature. And so that's why I really like the statement of going, for you guys that just popped on, we got more people that popped on. The way you look reflects the way you truly feel about yourself. And why I make that statement is as you grow yourself and you start to change those things, and then you'll find out that creates even more momentum. Dave, as you start to lose your weight, and maybe you got compliments, or maybe you start dressing up a little bit, did it create more motivation in you?
Absolutely, because all of a sudden, as I started to lose weight, people started asking, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
And then they started asking me for help.
Yep.
And, it was very empowering that, I wasn't doing it for anybody else. I was doing it for my own reasons. I had my own reasons why. But it's just a very empowering feeling, and knowing that, other people are starting to notice this too. That's just kind of the cherry on top. That's not the reason. It's just kind of a nice little bonus,
Yep.
So...
Well, a lot of people too is like when people hold themselves to that kind of standard, people that don't do that, what they'll do is they'll say, well, they're covering up for something. They're insecure. This is like going, no, I know I'm a thing. So if I dress up, it's just what I want to represent out there. And it's kind of funny. I tell people this. It's kind of like in business. If I walk into a store where this is just me, and I own a restaurant now with Lauren, Chef Lauren. And one thing that Chef Lauren and I agreed upon, that when you walk into that restaurant, it's got to look classy, because I'm sorry, a woman that's well dressed is much more attractive than a girl sitting in her PJs. Now, yes, it doesn't mean that girls can't be sexy in their PJs, but you're not taking them out in their PJs.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to dinner to your favorite restaurant in your flannel PJs. You know what I'm saying? You want them to be dressed up, and because you know why? It doesn't mean that they're not sexy to you in PJs, but how a woman looks is a really big representative of what a guy's status is.
Yes.
Do you understand, ladies? Your PJs may be good at home, but when we walk out, we want to walk with a girl on our arm that said, "He's fucking that." Do you understand? See, we all laugh, but it's true. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my God. I'm like, yep, you may want her. She's awesome, but I'm the one taking her home.
But you're changing the statement
What's that?
to "that's the girl I want to fuck" or "I am fucking,"
Yep.
to "how you look is how you feel about yourself." That was the original statement.
Well, it's all correlated. Yes.
I was gonna say, because if you're
I
talking
build
about
upon-
how I want if I want
build
to
upon-
look like what my husband wants to fuck,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look like this.
I build upon.
You
yeah,
just don't
exactly.
wear clothes at all, is what you do.
That too.
Actually, but
Yes, but but
We're easy to
yes.
that is the rule.
But you can't is the rule. But you can't meet somebody that way. You know what I'm saying? You can't meet them that way. And if you do meet them that way, you're usually paying $9.99 for that. Okay. We got a lot of laughs on that one. That's pretty funny. That one.
And I think this statement, I'll tell you what. So in 2020, I was lifting quite a bit of weight in the bench press. Still am, but people I think would label me. They look at me for the first time and they go, "Gym rat." I do spend time in the gym, but my son kind of really put it in full circle for me. He asked me in 2020 when everything was going bad with the whole George Floyd stuff and whatnot. "Dad, I think I had close to 400 pounds on there, just pushing it by myself." And he goes, "Dad, why are you lifting so much weight?" And I told him like this without even thinking, "Because I might only get one punch." There's more to just, looking good. It's feeling good and being confident in who you are in those moments where that 1% comes and you have to be ready. Yeah. And I don't just lift weights. I practice, striking for all the MMA lovers out there, striking, punching, doing things, always, keeping my sword sharp, so to speak, for those moments, because you don't know when that 1% is going to come. If I'm 5'4" and weigh a buck nothing, and Doc has me as a security guy, would you trust me to be the good guy for that, or how I look now? So it's important to put work in to show your value of what you're capable of doing.
Now, ladies, I got a question for you guys. Are you attracted to more muscular or more dad bods?
We
Dana,
don't
start
all
with you.
have to do that, do we?
Hey, my eyes are up here, okay?
That's right.
By the next time you come on, you need to be
Okay,
able to
I'll
do
work
that.
on that. Yeah. Give me a year. I won't be back for a year.
That's right.
Because I don't know. Nothing's happening.
That's right.
All right, we'll see you October 3rd.
That's right.
24.
Mean Girls Day.
I was just going to bring that up. I learned.
High bar.
I learned.
Mean
We'll go
Girls
back
Day.
to my question, but I learned today from Nicole Selesky and Dana that October 3rd is Mean Girl Day. And I'm like, what the heck is Mean Girl? It's based on the Mean Girl
Those
movie.
yeah.
I'm like, I've seen
And
the Mean Girl
3rd,
movie.
He asked me what day it was. It's October 3rd. It's just it.
It's part of
The
the
whole
Mean
scene.
Girl. I'm
If
like-
you know, you know. And if you don't,
but
you don't.
the funny part is this. That's about the third time I heard that before they were sitting in my room and talking about it. I'm like going, what's this Mean Girl Day? You know what I'm saying? So it's like based on the movie The Mean Girls. And I
Tomorrow's
was like,
Wednesday. Make sure you wear pink.
October 3rd is Tommy Jackson's birthday. That's all that matters. He's one of my best friends.
like, there you go.
Shout
So-
out if he's watching.
Nice. So let's go back to my question. Crystal, let's start with you. Then we'll go to Dana, and then we'll go to Ashley. Muscular dad bod.
I mean, who doesn't like muscles?
Who doesn't like muscles? And I love the way you said that.
Oh, you can feel the energy of the room when there's biceps in the room.
Do you want to leave?
Ah.
No, it's good energy.
Ashley?
It's masculine.
I honestly am attracted to the brain.
That's
However,
not my
no, that's
question.
your question.
That's not my question. It's all
my
you guys are.
husband has a very attractive, muscular body.
There you go.
I thought
said-
you were gonna say brain for a second.
Yeah, muscular brain.
I'm sure he's got that too, but
It's got a lot of ripples in that brain.
That's right. There's a lot of creases. That's good.
Lots of flexing.
Okay. Now, once again, like I said, what we're trying to do is this. Like I said, is have the conversations because once again, they're bringing. Now, here's what happens. This. Let's talk about this. And I'm gonna spin it from a healthcare standpoint, but let's do this. Is obesity good for society? Dave, let's start with you.
So I can almost tie this into our last talking point too, where you're talking about what was it, transgender is normal in our society. We have now started to get to a point where we made obesity normal in
Exactly.
our
Yeah.
society, and some of it's because of technology. I mean, the way technology is advanced, we don't even have to get out of our cars to go grocery shopping anymore. You don't even have to leave your house if you don't want to. But all the different health concerns that do go along with it as well that don't get talked about enough. I mean, how many more cases of diabetes have happened in the last 15 years, especially in juvenile diabetes?
Right.
So and as a trainer,
Yep.
it really does sicken me a little bit that it is that normal. I mean, we can't drive down the road. How many times do you see a quick trip as you're driving down the road nowadays? It's at every corner.
Yep.
And is there anything healthy to eat there?
Nope.
You really have to look if you want to try to find something. Maybe it's a protein bar that's only got
Right.
10 grams of sugar in it,
Right.
but that's about all you can find. And that's why I got into my profession is I want to try to fight obesity. I feel that's the real epidemic and the real pandemic
Yep.
that is going on in our country, especially.
And I think that we give people an out when we talk about that. We live in a society where you don't have to go to a grocery store, things like that. And here's why: because believe it or not having to leave your house does not give you not an excuse to exercise at home. You can do push-ups at your house. You can do things like that. You don't need a gym. You don't need all the money to do it that way. You can get outside. You can walk and things like that. I think the convenience of not having to go to a grocery store, I think makes even less of an excuse to not go to the gym, or less of an excuse. You actually have more. See, you think
have
this
more
way,
time.
Technology has given us more time. It really has. Technology has given us more time. It's just that most people waste it. I mean this very sincerely. Unless you massively benefit from the Packers, go work out during the Packer game. I can honestly tell you that I get so much done during the Packer game, not because I don't manage my time well. It's just like going, I know that most people are going to glue their TVs. I can run around Green Bay. It's a ghost town. And I can do the things I want to do and stuff like that with less traffic and everything. And so it's kind of cool. I think that we talked about that the more that we can give people the idea that their time is back that way, it's like, oh, well, I have a sedentary job. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many hours do you work at your job? Well, 10. So what are you doing for the 14 hours, the other 14 hours? Well, I'm sleeping 8. So what are you doing for 6 hours? You tell me you can't get out and exercise for an hour? You tell me you can't exercise for 2 hours? You know what I'm saying? Because even if you're sedentary all day, you go hit the gym hard for 2 hours.
I was in the gym today for an hour with my laptop.
Yeah.
In between sets. You're what?
There
I can
you go.
multitask, honey.
Could you do that thing again?
The chest thing.
Do the chest
Could
thing.
you do that again? Oh, yeah.
I went
Homegrown
I have a
taters
man
from
crush
Idaho.
on you now.
Hey, my eyes are up here. Remember that?
That's right.
I went to the gym right before the podcast.
Yeah.
Chris, what you got?
Can you repeat the question, Doc?
What was my question? Oh, is obesity
Obesity.
good for society?
No. We've definitely normalized obesity. And especially in our area of the country, I think, the country as a whole for sure, but you travel in different places and the Midwest, you come back and it's a whole different standard. It's a different standard that we've normalized, and the sickness and the illness that is perpetuated from someone who has the extra weight. I mean, Steve, you talk about it, how you got, that was the one thing you did, or maybe, I'm sure you did other things too, but that was the thing that made the difference for you. And so that alone, how it can just really shift someone's health. I think it's extremely disruptive. I think it's disruptive in relationships and marriages and physical health, and it's become this normal thing that we're okay with.
You know what's really funny?
It's very sad.
So, do you know where you see a lot less obesity, and this is going to offend a lot of people? Wealthier areas.
Oh, yeah.
When I go to wealthy places, even wealthy resorts, lo and behold, when their wives go to the pool, they look pretty damn good. Do you see it? It really does. Because you know why? Because the guy that has money and worked his ass off, did stuff, doesn't want a fat girl. Do you see it? It's quite crazy. It's like, I mean, this could be a cliche. Let's talk about the Packers. I know a lot of Packer wives. Regardless of color, guess what happens? They really don't have big women. Do you see it? And see, because I know that's going to offend a lot of people by saying that, but it's really true. I always love when they call it cliches or, trying to, put people in boxes, but it's really true. When I go to wealthy resorts and stuff that I stay at that way, it's like, you don't see it that much. You really don't. And stuff like that, because the wealthy guys are like going, I don't want that. But see, that's why I don't know why I'm trying to normalize it. Well, what's again, because they'll say, well, that's the exception, not the rule. No, but there's a reason why this, but here's why I'll also say it's not good for society, because, it's really funny. I believe that's why the porn industry is so big, because they're not attracted to their wife, or they fantasize about something else that their wife doesn't have. And so they're going to run towards it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, it is, because it's like going, well, once again, and saying that it's really, that's what I said, is it good for society? I believe that it's not only horrible for health aspects and cardiovascular and all things. Do you understand that obesity is one of the only things that really contribute to every disease on the planet? It makes every disease worse. It exacerbates it.
Yeah.
From heart disease, cancer, diabetes, everything, it exacerbates it. It makes everything worse. So that's why when people like Lizzo are on and I don't even know this woman, but she's supposedly the biggest body positivity part. I'm positive you should cover that shit up. You understand? I'm very positive about that. I'm positive you should cover that body up, because it's absolutely disgusting and stuff. So, Travis, what you got? Is obesity good for society?
No, not at all. And I think the problem, the root cause is that person struggling with something. And I think I give a little more grace for women, because I know they got a little more hormonal things to deal with. But in regards to the main issue is this, there's, in my opinion, obviously the person who's struggling and gained weight, that's the main root cause. But I think we as a nation or a society need to think differently. And what I mean by that is this. David Goggins once he said this, and it just hit me good. It was a good validation for me. We'll say that Dana is my cousin, and I haven't seen her in a year, and we had a family reunion, and she's packed on 50 pounds over the last year. Now everyone's going to pretend like nothing happened, and then talk to you like you're normal, everything's fine. Obviously, something's not normal, whether it be health or stress, all the above. Then we all get in a car, drive home, see you next year, or at the holidays, whatever. Did you see Dana? She's a chunker. That to me is a crime in a way. I hate it. You know what? A real person should say, hey, cuz, you right? You been packing some pounds on. Is something going on with you? Or are you sick? Or stressed? Divorced? What's going on? Have a real conversation with people. Find out why they're stuffing their feelings. Find out why they're stuffing everything in their mouth, whatever they can get their hands on. Start having real conversations with people and having extreme accountability. And you watch a lot of these issues go away. But no, that's offensive. Don't say that. Don't do it.
Dana, what you got? Is obesity good for society?
Yeah, no, definitely not. I really hate this whole body positivity movement because I think it's so negative. And the message there is it's okay to be fat, don't do anything, right? Because if we can get everybody complacent, then it's so easy to control people, and it's easier to control fat people than it is to control fit people. So pretty much whatever kind of messaging is out there, we should really just obviously do the opposite pretty much all the time. And I also, you call out men a lot, so I'll yell at the women
so
for
you're
a little
supposed to yell
while.
at the women here.
I
Come
will
on.
yell at the
Here we
women.
go.
And women are also perpetuating this problem. Okay, so how many times have you ever seen a woman post a picture of herself on social media and say something about loving her rolls or I don't know, whatever, and she's very clearly like overweight. And then what happens in the comments? It's all this praise for how she looks and, oh, you look great. And no, you're lying. You are flat out lying to them. None of you actually think that about her. And none of the men are going to chime in on that post because they don't want to be attacked.
I
right?
would. I do all the
You are
time.
the exception to the rule.
I love chiming in. Get your fast.
You are the exception to the rule. Most men are not
you
going
are.
to do that because, right, they don't want to be attacked or anything like that. And we, as women, need to stop doing that because there's way too many of us that are way overweight, and we need to do something about it because I also think that it's very important that women are looking nice for their husbands, right? Like, men want to be proud to show off their woman.
Yep.
They want to
It's
be
true.
proud of her and parade her around. And I really don't care if women don't like that. You need to just shut up and accept it. That's just how it is. And you know what? It's kind of nice to be paraded around. And women actually deep down kind of like that because it's just part of the whole like pursuing the woman and all those things. But men, they want to be proud of you. So like look nice for them. You can do what 99% of it for yourself, but there's nothing wrong for looking nice for him either. And well, here I'm a little bit on a roll, so I'll just crawl out the Christian community too. Because in the Christian community, right, you're going to hear like Proverbs 31 and, you know, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain. And okay, yes, but you are also using that as an excuse. And you should not be doing that. You should be putting work and effort into how you look because that will be appreciated inside of your household. And honestly, you should just probably really pray about getting a scale. I'm done.
Amen.
I want you to keep going. I'm
ready.
Listening.
I want to hear more.
Well,
That's-
you know,
Thoughts
that's-
with Dana.
Yeah.
if you think about,
Look what happens when I just go.
It's a new show.
yeah, I love it.
Could use a
Well,
soy latte after all that.
that's
right?
right.
I know it. No, not here. Those are toxic.
That's right. But see, you know, and you get a bunch of people in the room and talk like this. Do you understand? It's like society is trying to, once again, and I don't believe it's society. I think that what happens, people fear consequences. They fear consequence. More people are fear the consequences that really don't exist. You know what I'm saying? Then what happens? Like it's like, you know, and what I'm trying to make the point is this: is going. What's the ramification of saying that to somebody? They don't like you anymore.
Oh,
You didn't want to be anywhere on the menu in the first place.
At least half the women who listen to me talk about that don't like me right now.
Right.
And
Well-
probably like 25% of them are like, yeah, she's right. And then 25% of them are probably like, oh, I wish I thought like that.
Right. And people sometimes what they'll do is like I said, I want men to be around me to be either grow or crack and run away. And that happens all the time.
Ooh, okay, so he talked about men have to have their 3 M's together, right? The mind, muscle, and money. Okay, so on the woman's side, you have to have 3 S's together. You have to have sexy, support, and serene. So sexy, the part of that, right, that directly relates to what we're talking about now, right? It's being all sexy for your man and looking nice for him and all of these things, right? And there doesn't have to be this like exact picture perfect thing because every, you know, man is different and stuff. But the point is you should also be, okay, here's like your test of how you even know like if your man is probably pleased with you. If you can reasonably look in the mirror and be pleased with yourself, and I mean reasonably look in the mirror and be pleased with yourself, like then you're probably fine. But if you really can't, like you probably need some work. And I'm not talking about the size 2 who thinks she needs to lose 5 pounds. No. But I'm not talking about the 220-pound female either who was like, yeah, no, I totally love myself. No, you don't. You're lying to yourself.
Right.
Because you know darn well if they got one wish.
They would wish to lose weight.
Yep.
Or they would
They
wish
would.
to look
Well,
like that.
do you know a show that became very popular when it came out and it got millions of applicants was Extreme Makeover. From everything, what they did is they changed their hair, changed their boobs, changed their teeth, changed their body, stuff like this, and they worked with them for things. And then what happened? And every woman that went through a makeover felt better about herself.
Yeah.
You say, and they found her more attractive and stuff like this way. And that's why you see that happen so much today. You understand? And it's really funny is like, and people's, and I love how it's been trying to flip to guys don't really care about that. Yes, we do.
Yeah, they do.
You know, if you get women out of the conversation, which needs to happen when it comes to male things, you need to get women out of the conversation because they'll always start to bring traits. Well, you know, what about this? Essentially, ladies, let me tell you very clearly, the first thing we look at is your looks. It's not your personality. Now, there's an old saying that if you know, that yes, if a girl, you know, once again, if they're not supportive and not serene that way,
Right.
they can lose a part of their sexiness even if they look good. You saying? But sorry, you know, like I said, there's a reason why there's called a trophy wife and not a trophy husband.
Yeah, I've never once said, man, did you see her personality?
I know. Yes, and
It was banging.
All that wisdom. Damn!
That's right. Yes. Travis and I never walked around and said, man, we're so sick of being our wife's arm candy.
Oh, I know.
We're just so
Struggle's
sick of
real.
it. It's just a struggle that we go through. You saying?
I do.
But you want some of this? But you want some of them? But if a woman looks great, there's nothing, and a guy walks in with that woman, he's peacocking. Because his woman gives him status, big time.
He wants to show you
I
off.
have-
He wants to show you
he
off.
wants to
I
show
have
you
some
off.
of my best workouts when Sarah walks in the weight room. I'm excited when she's there. It's fun. It's something we do together. It just jacks up your testosterone a few points, which
Exactly.
I appreciate.
Ashley, what you got? Is obesity good for society?
No, definitely not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I will say obesity is definitely not good for our society. I wish I had some on myself, but in a positive sense,
Yes.
please. I will agree with the standpoint of excuse. That's a big word in our house, particularly with my husband. He just told me the other day, I went to the doctor. The doctor told me, you need to put some more protein on your body. What did my husband say? Go to the gym with me. Where is that putting protein? Excuse. That's what we say, excuse.
I
We'll
like
make
it.
up everything in the book. I will not work out. I hate it. But he'll use it as an excuse for me. I use it.
Love it. Steve, what you got?
I'll beat a dead horse for a minute. It's a plan. There's all a plan, and this is part of it. They want, the more obese people are, the more they're dependent on the government.
Bingo.
Okay,
Easy
and
to
the
control.
more. Oh, but guess what? Guess who makes money? Pharma. Every time, and it's, you know, again, it's a dead horse. I'm beating a dead horse here, but it's the same thing. Look at the food, not that you sell in your restaurant or what I eat, but what normal people eat. Unfortunately, that standard
Yeah.
American diet. Go and look at that crap.
It's like you're speaking in tongues when you're reading the ingredients.
Yeah, yeah. It's
horrible.
It's so terrible, and nobody does anything about it. And they all know it's bad for them, but they're making so much money because it comes down to the money. So, is it good for society? Well, for the guys that are making all the money, it's great for them. It's bad for the people that are eating the food that aren't paying attention.
Yeah, things used to, and I'm happy that we really came on this concept a lot tonight. Is about, you know, what's good for society. You saying, and I think we all agree that there's a level of faith that's great for society. I think there's a level of standards that from health to beauty to beliefs that are great for society. You know, it's like, do you know one of the most prosperous places right now in the world is based on the belief that when men are given respect and responsibility and held to that count, the society thrives. Does anybody know where that is?
Dubai.
Dubai. And guess who is moving there like crazy? Hot women. Do you know why they're? Because they're like going, I want a man of value. And men are not born with their value. And yes, for all my Christian friends, yes, God has created value because you're a human. But I also sit there and go, I can't see a guy that sits around where their wife is stressed out and they're broke and they have money problems and things like this, that's what God called you to do. I can't believe that. I just cannot. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's why I have no faith in churches today. Because if I was a pastor, I'd be like, honestly, I said this to my buddy one time, who's pastor. I said, listen, let me preach a service on Sunday once. First thing I'd do is raise your hand and say, ladies, raise your hand if you are struggling financial right now. And it'd be no problem because I talked to him about this. And I said, raise your hand, if your husband's sitting next to you. And if your husband's sitting next to you, I'd say, get his ass out of here. Because what are you going to do? Sit around and get a message of hope that everything's going to be okay? Because most of the messages today are made for women, not for men. Because messages of hope and feel good and things like that, which is great. Women need to hear that stuff. Men don't. Okay. But the idea is this, it's like going, but he even said to me, he goes, but then guess what happens? He goes, but then most of my church would leave. And leave like they wouldn't come back. Because the men would feel insecure. They'd be this to them, like going, yeah, but you would start to actually truly build a church of women and women that want to be taken care of properly and stuff. And that's one of the things that we have to see now in that day. So, we covered a lot of stuff today.
We're like relatively efficient though.
Yes.
I will say this though, Doc, I didn't grow in my life the last 10 years because you told me, you're fine just the way you are, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Jesus loves me, but that's not going to help me on this planet while I'm here. I need to do something. I need to grind. Even the same word that talks about Jesus says, lazy hands, poverty.
Yeah.
It's self-explanatory.
Well, and just to bring it up, what happened to you over the last week?
What happened to me?
Yeah. What'd you get another one of?
I got an increase of something.
Yes. Do you say?
I suppose you're the CEO. I got a raise.
Good for you.
But what'd that come from?
Hard work.
That's right.
Hard work and
My muscle money.
yep.
Do you understand? And men are rewarded for their my muscle money. That's how they bring value to the world. And that's not a bad thing. Good, strong men are great for society. Great feminine women are great for society. You say, and it's really funny because I want to point out something that a lot of people, they do is they try to, and I employ a lot of women. I really do. I employ a lot of women that have great success. But you know what characteristics they have to adopt to actually have success in society?
Masculine.
Masculine. Do you say? Now, I will tell you this, though. Owning a big company and stuff, and many, many companies, is when it comes to culture, when it comes to making a company feel like a family or feel like a home, I'm telling you right now, it's not me and Travis come up with those ideas. It's actually the feminine. Do you say? And so there is a part of femininity that brings good things to certain things of culture, but the majority of culture, like as you talked about, you're supporting the patriarchy.
Yep.
And the reason why we're so messed up today is because people think we're a patriarchy today. It's actually the opposite. We're dominated by female thinking right now. Because once again, compassion, nurturing, everything's okay. I always bring up the example. Well, he just wants to transition himself, or she just wants to transition himself. And, he's really a good kid. See, we accept bad behavior and think it's okay and normalize it. Just like we accepted crime in San Francisco if it's under $900. I used to, and I've used this example so many times. I sat in prison with a family member, okay? And I talked to the other people, and their moms would come visit them and things like that. And do you know what's really funny? You know what the moms always said about their child? I'd say, why is your son? And I started to do this just because I knew it's going to be a topic someday. I'd look at the mom and say, what's your son in for? They'd tell me and say, but he's really a good boy. We're in prison. You saying? We're in prison. But you know something? I expect females to say that. If it was a dad that would say it, I'd be like, that's why he's in here, it's because of you. Do you understand? That's what, because women will let men's bad behavior. It's just really funny. It's really hilarious, and I want you to get you guys' feedback on this. Women will let men have really bad behavior. They really will. You understand? And they really do. But other men, real men, won't let other men have really bad behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Strong women won't.
Yeah, but what do you consider a strong woman?
Exception, sorry.
Yeah.
Exception.
Yeah,
Okay.
the exception.
Dana, will you let that crap go?
No.
Strong woman.
Yeah, my wife won't.
My wife won't let me.
She'll tell
she'll
me to go
jack
to doc
me.
right away.
Yeah, but the jacking is
like
like,
her
Hey, you're an asshole, Steve. Let's knock it off. She used
Yeah.
to kick me in the shins, black and blue all the time. Man, I caught on until she
Yep.
walked away. Boy, I was right back at it though.
yeah, but my
Just
my
happened.
point is this though: you fear a woman less than you'd actually fear a guy. You saying based on the consequence. Based on the consequence. You saying because if the woman's here's what I mean. What I didn't mean bad behavior towards your wife. I mean bad behavior in general.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because here's what happens. This I'm not saying that that your wife won't give you criticism when it comes to bad behavior when it comes to them. I'm saying in general, women will let men get with really bad behavior, and until they get sometimes frustrated enough with it, which very seldom happens because once again there's consequence of it that way. Because let's say a guy here, watch this, and here's my point: if your man gets fat, your wife will let you do it. You understand? Because once again, they'll allow most bad behavior with the exception of sometimes how you treat them, but even then they'll let that happen. You understand? And that's why I always tell people is like, you can have a woman scream at a man all day long and they'll just tune out most of it.
Yep.
That's my point on it that way. It really is. And see, it's like, but if you look in general, and that's why I said by nature, I watch wives legitimately make excuses for their husband's mind, their money, everything. You understand? And then the sad part is this, and it's really funny because they'll say, how attractive do you find him? Oh, I love my husband. So no, I didn't say you love him. You're gonna do you understand that if you spend enough time with somebody, you love them. You really do.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? But then I say, okay, let me rephrase that. Are you attracted to him? Well, that's a little different story. Ah, you're a Christian woman. Oh, wait, you're attracted to that guy that does have all that stuff put together. That's why I see you'd be surprised at stuff that people told me behind closed doors. But the idea is this: is Christian women really feel guilty when their man doesn't have their stuff together and they find other men attractive because they beat themselves up. It's like, God, please take these feelings away. No, actually, don't take those feelings away. Do totally opposite. Do you understand? Let that man know. You understand? But really what happens is this. What I would say is let that man's best friend know. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because another man comes to another man and said, dude, you think I'm joking? I've had many conversations with guys saying, and this is not a joke because I've had many conversations with guys and here's how it started. Not a joke. Imagine some other guy taking your wife away from you. Guess what happens? They're like, no, and I didn't put it that nicely. I said a little bit more sassy sexual about, and here's the point of going, because if you don't get your shit together, some other guy is going to take your wife away from you, no matter how much she loves Jesus and stuff like that. Yes, there's women that have the exceptions to the rule that they'll put up with everything. But you get my point, though? Mm-hmm. And it's like, because it's different than we talked about last show. We talked about, I think it's greater for, guys to get together and say, get your shit together than a woman's trying to tell their husband to get their shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And today, it's really funny because women will allow men to have really bad behavior for a long time on either till it gets really bad for them, or what happens is they it's really funny. Who gives up easier, men or women? Dave, who gives up better, men or women? I'm going to write my thing down so no one knows I don't change my thing here. Okay.
I'd say women.
I would say men.
Me.
Dang, that's actually difficult. I'll go with men, I guess.
Women.
I'm missing the question.
Who gives up on things faster, men or women?
Oh, jeepers! I thought
Gives
who,
up on
who,
things.
Yeah.
I thought you said who
We
who
missed-
gives it up.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
who
who gives?
gives it?
Oh,
Who
Travis.
gives it in?
No, who gives up on relationship stuff more than anything, men or women?
Oh,
Man.
I'm sticking with my
I
answer.
think it would be a man.
It is men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking with
Men.
Oh.
Men will
Yeah.
put up with less stuff than women will.
Yeah.
She meant like in
They will.
society.
And men, we thank women for that. We
You
do.
said-
No, you said. You said.
That technically could be a
that-
W.
that-
That's a W
yeah.
upside down. So it
That's
could be.
right. They will give up on things. Actually, men put up with bad behavior less than women do. That's what I said. You go to prison, that mom's like, oh, good boy, good boy, good boy. A lot of times the dad will be like, no, let him suffer. Let him have his consequences, things like that. And it's quite interesting because people say, well, no, it'd be women. That's actually totally opposite. It's actually men. Because once again, that's why ladies, put that to your advantage. You saying? Walk over to that man's best friend and say, kick his ass, please. You understand? And that's why I disagree with anybody who says that a woman's going to come to her man and say, this. He'll fight you right away. But if you talk to a man that way and go, hey, dude, can you go talk to him about this stuff? You understand? And it's more impactful. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because they will put up with less. A guy will definitely put up with less more than women will. And I think God made him that way. That's why they're nurturing. That's why they're compassionate. That's why they're more understanding. That's why they listen better. That's why they do everything. You know, it's quite funny. I'm a horrible listener. I'm a guy. Most guys, when women are talking or even our men are talking, you not listening for most of the things that they're talking to them about. That's why I hate meetings. I'm like, I hate meetings. Why? Because I'm not listening most of the time. See, Crystal laughs because she's been with meetings before. I'm like, yep, good, next, let's go. Get to the point. Because we just don't want to listen. We don't have time. We give up quicker. That's my thoughts.
It's almost full circle here. You talk about women nurturing. That's their value to society.
It really
They
is.
Yeah.
nurture. There's a time and place for it, and you need it. You don't need a surgery. You don't need to be fat. Don't need to be LGBTQTV9 or A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You just need to be a man or woman, and you have value, and you just have to believe that.
True. And I believe that's why you see cultural things are acceptable that would never be accepted 50 years ago because, once again, the feminine characteristics are trying to, that's why we don't have a patriarchy. Patriarchy says, knock that shit off. Sit down, shut up. I tell people I've been in business, sit down, shut up. Dude, your idea is stupid. Do all the time. And people that work for me go, yep, good point, next. Crystal's done it. Like, Crystal, dumb idea, next. We don't hear about our idea? No, it's stupid. Let's go on. No, and I do it with Crystal, I do it to anybody that way in business that way. It's like, no. It's like this. And because here's what happens this. Let's say there's a difference between a business owner and a worker. There always is. Because there's things that they've experienced that workers haven't. That's why they're working. Okay? So the idea is this. It's like this. If a child comes to mom and says, Mom, this, and mom's like, no. Well, why? You know, because you're not even going to understand if I explain it to you. It's some of the same concepts that way. So I think we got way off our topic, didn't we?
That never
Shocking.
happens.
Wait, did we stop with you? Wasn't I asking a question before?
Like you, I
think so.
Oh yeah, we're live.
That's right. Yeah, we're live. We can't do it anymore.
That one, yeah.
I love the
Cut.
comments on your.
Cut.
Jean is making some awesome comments. Jean's awesome. Jean works over at the pharmacy. She's awesome. But before,
She does love
What
us.
up,
Jean's
Gene?
awesome.
She does love
Jean's
us.
amazing. And stuff like that. So we got. Hey, why isn't Jean scheduled for that? I asked her about that. Jean gets you're on your comment like crazy on the podcast.
She'd
I
be-
love
Get it, Jean.
Jean.
She'd be fun.
She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. She's fantastic.
She's a
great.
spitfire. I love her.
Yeah, well, it's great because she likes conversation. She likes debate. She likes this. It's wonderful. I love that about people because it gives them the chance to share their ideas and articulate and stuff like that. And you know what? No one has to agree on everything and stuff. So, anyways, all right. So, Steve, we're gonna do this. We're gonna go around the thing. Final thoughts. What you got from everything today?
I think we have to find a community of rebels,
Mm.
Yeah.
and we have to agree on one thing: what's best for our society. Obviously, you picked out a lot of things tonight that where our society's going to crap, and the problem is, how do we do this, right? Everything we do is captured through our phones, through the TVs. They know everything we're doing. Okay, so I'm saying this out loud, which I probably shouldn't be, but who's going to lead this? You know, who's going to actually get the people together to stop? Why are we making all these weird people who are in the vast minority in the United States? Yes. Vast minority. I mean, the gay community is 4%, 5%, but we are structuring society around them, and again, what you said, whatever they want to do is fine, but why are we changing? Why do the 95% have to play by their rules? We're making up rules just for them.
Yep.
We're not making any. I'm the white 66-year-old guy, man. I'm the worst guy in the world. I'm at the bottom of the pole. Nobody's making up a rule for me. They take my money, take my rights. You're crap. Okay, that has to change, and it's either going to change through politics. That was a joke. Okay.
Thank you.
Sense of humor.
I was like,
Because it's not going to change, right? It's going to change through enough people getting in the street. You know, maybe the head's appropriate, Dana. You know, you never know. It's a crazy world. If it comes to that, that comes to that. But, you know, I think you brought it up a number of times, but bringing God back into things. And when I say God, you know, I'm not talking that we should necessarily read the Bible, okay? But our country was founded on Judeo-Christian values and morals, okay? And there's a base there that we've lost, and that's why all these things are now acceptable, right? And that's why they're being allowed to happen in schools and businesses, okay? the CIA, their latest recruitment poster is by a black cisgender lesbian, non-functioning. She admits that she's bipolar, and she's recruiting for the CIA. Now, you tell me, when is this acceptable? Because the inmates are truly running the asylum.
We need some psych wards.
Right. So I think we need a revolution, and we need people to lead it and to get together
Ashley.
and grow a pair.
Awesome. Thanks. Ashley.
That was a lot.
It's good. We like a lot.
I'm just like, wow.
Taking it in.
Taking that, yeah, that took a moment to take in there. Obviously, we're all gonna still feel about our opinions the way we do after we leave here tonight. I do agree that to some certain extent, we do need to bring back more God in our school, in our all general lives. Whether it be a certain religion, that's another point. I don't believe we're going to touch on that. Just because I don't think we need to go back 50 years where women are being beaten the crap out of by their husbands. That's how I see it. But in general, I think man, like we had mentioned before, the masculinity being a key factor in those that you hire for women, and even men for that matter, and where you're seeing that. I'd actually like to see that in our society more. I'm definitely, for one, not one of them, but I certainly look out for my husband to help me with parenting, and I'd like to see that more in our society in general.
Dana.
I really like that this is called the I Disagree podcast, because I think our culture is starting to condition us to think that if you disagree with people, you hate them. And that's obviously not true at all. You can disagree with people and you can be their friends, or you cannot be their friends. Like, it's called dialogue. You know what I mean? And honestly, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to disagree with people. And so go love some more people.
Yeah.
Travis.
Mine's pretty simple tonight, and I'm blessed to be able to be here every Tuesday. So there's 3 types of people in this world. I've been convinced by this for a long time. There's sheep, there's wolves, and there's sheepdogs. I'm a sheepdog, and I'm damn good at it. I'm not saying I'll win if you came to my doorstep, but I'm gonna give you hell, and you're gonna be limping when you leave. But I'm a protector. I'm sick and tired of the shit, and I'm gonna fight for it. I'm gonna fight on the spiritual battle, the physical battle, the political battle, however I can. I'm going to be a voice. I'm not going to be that silent majority. I'm not going to be that guy sitting at home eating organic bonbons. I'm going to be the sheepdog. Obviously, Doc's the shepherd of this place, but I'm the under shepherd. I consider myself. I take care of the flock when he's not around. I take care of the building. I take care of people who want to do the right things, and that is my role. And I'll always be that way, and I will always encourage people to stand up for themselves and stop listening to the indoctrinations. So I'm going to challenge people. If you are a sheepdog at home that just needs a little courage, get it. Grab your nuts. It's time to get to work. It's time to stop being that silent majority and have a revolution. Do something. Be a sheepdog.
Crystal.
My goodness, so many good things tonight. I'm honored to be able to sit at this table with all of you. I think what this does is opens up that discussion, right? And Doc talks about it all the time, that conflict clarifies. And it's healthy conflict. We're being respectful here. We can talk about things. We don't have to have the same opinion on something to have a discussion, but to be respectful. And I am so encouraged by this, and I hope that it truly gives people the inspiration to stand up and have the hard discussions and embrace those hard discussions a little bit differently.
Dave.
Say stop making the abnormal normal. You know, like we talked about with all these subjects today. Let's stop making obesity normal. Let's start to take back our what is health, who we are as people. Whether it's going back even a little more primitive, hunter-gatherer, that type of stuff. But let's stop making these exceptions and try to make them into the rules. Let's go back and let's try to take back control of our society and take back control of our health, both physical, mental, and emotional.
Yep.
And, you know, maybe we can get back to a better society that's not so shitty right now.
Amen.
So,
It's funny because we talked a lot about society, and there's, you know, Tony Robbins taught me when I was a teenager. He said, success leaves clues. We had certain things in society that were very successful, and we've got away from that. That's why we're seeing so much destruction. And I think that's why when people try to sit down and share ideas like we did tonight, that way, everything we're trying to do is to make the betterment of people here, betterment of people around us, and betterment of our society in general. I still think that society always gets better when the individual is better. When the individual is better, because individuals actually produce society. I think politics is absolutely phenomenal because I look at politics the way it was originally supposed to be. It's supposed to be about building a community and stuff, and having a community that actually strive for great things and make everybody thrive. Because when, you know, success breeds our success. Poverty breeds our poverty too. You understand? And it's hard to control successful people. It really is. But it's really easy to control people impoverished because they're always needing something to survive. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're successful, you need less to survive. And you actually can thrive and actually take ideas to a different level. And like I tell people, horn topic, but I always tell people, and I know some people from India, and it's kind of funny because I was talking to a very successful business person in India, and I asked them a question one time. I said, what do the majority of people in India think about global warming? They're like, global warming? They can't even have clean food and water. Do you really think they give a shit about global warming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, when people actually don't have problems, sometimes they make them up. You understand? Because it sounds like they can do something to accomplish that way because they've lost purpose in their life. So, once again, you're not making society better by causing problems. You're making society better by coming up with solutions. And that's why I said, that's why our discussion tonight, all things is talking about solutions that make everything better that our kids and grandkids can, you know, consume when we're gone. Because it's really funny. I always loved talking to people of past that had a lot of wisdom. You know, how many times have we heard from a veteran, and especially most of the World War II vets have now, most of them have passed away and everything. But you watching videos of these people, or I even talked to them, like, I didn't go to war to die for some of the stuff that people are allowed to take for granted today. You see, they fought to make a better society. And once again, what did it take? Remember, violence isn't the answer, it's a solution. You see, and once again, and I know it's really funny because people say, well, that's a hate speech, or that's this, or it's calling for violence. I'm saying, no, but it's going to be, like I said, our country got fed up, and that's how we became a country. You know, there's things that, and when a society finally gets fed up with all the BS, it ends up in violence. And so the people that don't want to end up in violence, they're the ones that say, listen, let's bring something better to the table. And that's why I like talking about things like this, because I'm sitting there going, you know, I think that that it can be, I think it can be avoided if, once again, people respect each other, very civil liberties and things that they do, and they base society on a good value. So, first time live, worked out really well. We kept the audience for a long period of time. It was kind of cool.
Good.
It was like great comments for all you guys that are doing there. Now, once again, if you guys have a statement that you guys believe in that way, do me a favor, post it in there and let us see if we disagree or agree with it that way. Steve, nice having you back again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and
Yeah.
I'd love to be back someday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
We
when
love-
I can do that. but-
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll work on
maybe
that.
not.
Work on
I'll
that.
just wear a real heavy shirt.
That's
so you
right.
can't see.
Standards.
Yeah, standards that way. Dave,
Nice to
thanks
meet
for
you.
coming.
Thank you so
Crystal,
much for
thanks for
having
coming. Ashley, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Dana and Travis, thank you for co-hosting with me today and some of that. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you guys next Tuesday on I Disagree Podcast. And remember, it's probably one of the most, you know, simple statements that you can say to somebody to actually help you have a conversation to get some point across that you want to. But you got to learn to articulate your ideas and have conversations with people. And it's very respectful and very good to say I disagree. We'll see you guys next week.